and they paid $11.5 million. For Bellinger, it ends up being, what, $27 million, roughly? Mm-hmm. It's a 3-year, $80 million deal, so obviously it's more money, but it's a much better player that you're getting. And, yeah, there's no guarantees that he'd want to come here. There's no guarantees you'll be able to get him. I mean, if you offered a contract 2 months ago, or a month ago, you're going to get him? Maybe not. But that's why I like what's going on with Brad Holmes, what I think can happen in NFL free agency when you look at the Lions, is I think you can be patient and wait around and get somebody at a huge discount because the money just isn't there that they thought there was. The market isn't there. And maybe Scott Harris has something left up his sleeve that he wants to do something here. I doubt it. But patience can be a virtue sometime. If you wait long enough, that guy can show up for a much discounted price.
248-539-9797. Greg is next. Hi, Greg.
What's up, guys? Happy Monday. What a great weekend.
Yes.
Champ and chump. It's got to be. I like the rule before when it used to be you had to be one. It had to be one champ and then one chump. But it seems like that ship sailed a long time ago. So I'm going to go with 2 for champ.
Well, no, we still hold you to one champ.
Okay. But that totally screws up my whole thing, Gator.
Oh, go ahead. Execute it. Just do it quickly, Greg.
Okay, I'm sorry. Pat and the Cat. They combined for 11 points. He had DeBrickett had the game-tying goal, and then, of course, Patty Kane out there with the winner. It was just so awesome, and just everything. And it was funny. I was kind of reminded why used to not really like the guy too with the whole Showtime thing at the end. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. I'll let him slide on it. It was funny with the whole when they were before the game with them retiring Chelios's number 2. Also another Blackhawk that came to the Wings that that was hated. So, but anyways, that was just great and just awesome weekend for the Wings. I really expect Yzerman to. He's set this team up as an offensive scoring team at every single level, and now I expect them to shore up the defense, both on the forward lines and then both in the defense of the trade deadline, I hope.
Who you got as chump?
The foot of whoever on the Tigers, I'm not sure who it was, but for lack of better words, he hacky sacked the ball out into after the blooper drop, hacky sacked the ball out into the right field.
You mean Andrew Navigato? You don't know who Andrew Navigato is?
It was hilarious. It's a comedy of errors.
It is going to be. I may as well shoot the boot guarantee that will be the number 1 play on ESPN's not top 10 list coming up on Friday or whenever they do that.
You're saying number 1?
Yeah, have you seen it?
No, but
my God, this is like.
But he's guaranteeing it.
I mean, it's a little bold to guarantee anything, but Gator, this thing is.
And it's
this might be the worst.
It's such an inexact science because I'm convinced that over the years, I remember when I'd watch these top 10s and I'd be like,
don't know.
How the hell do they have that number 1? Did you see what number 4 was? And I just think they find 10 plays and do them anyway.
I'm not gonna shoot the boot, but I don't know how this isn't number 1. I mean, you're pretty spot on, Doug. Gator, you got to watch this thing. This is comical. This is unbelievable.
Cameron Meisner, and I actually watched the whole game, and I've got a lot to say about it, in large part because we basically just got the Tampa feed, okay? It was a Rays broadcast on Bally's. Do I care that it was
my?
See, now you know what we're talking about, Gator?
Yeah.
Am I that? I mean, look, am I wrong?
This is number 1.
That is something you don't see every day.
It was a Cameron Meisner pop-up that landed in shallow right field. The Tigers' shortstop at the time was Andrew Navigato. The play-by-play guy had no idea who he was because the play-by-play guy was the Tampa play-by-play guy, and every Tiger on the field was wearing a number in the 80s. And the ball lands in between 4 players. Navigato dives for it.
Number 94 on your score sheet.
It hits the ground, pops up in the air, and I mean, it was kind of a scorpion. His feet come over his head, hit the ball, and hit it halfway to the warning track.
It's like the opposite of a bicycle kick in soccer.
So funny.
It was.
And Meisner circles the bases for what was deemed an in-the-park home run.
The funny thing is when he watch how he tracks it. He's like, I got it. Like looking at it, and the ball just keeps drifting to his left to the point where he's totally screwed.
Anyway. 248-539-9797. More of your phone calls and feedback coming up. It's Carson Anderson, Champ and Chump. Get those votes in. One of Gator's least favorite is retiring. Did you see this? I think you'd be celebrating for this.
I haven't seen it.
All right, well. We will get to that today at 11:02. I will say, I will give you a clue and see if you guess who it is. It's 11:02. 97.1, the ticket.
Brought to you by Twin Peaks. NFL Combine Week is here, and the Lions will get a first-hand look at several major prospects. While in Indy, GM Brad Holmes joined 97.1 The Ticket this morning, said it's a little too early to evaluate the strength of this class yet. He also stayed pretty mum when asked about Jared Goff's contract negotiations. Goff is going into the final year of his deal with the Lions. Also, several Tigers are set to make their spring debuts this afternoon against the Astros down in Lakeland, as Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green will take the diamond for the first time. Mark Hanna and Jack Flaherty also will don their new uniforms on the field. You can catch the play-by-play over on the Bet 1270 at 1 o'clock with Dan Dickerson on the call. Pistons rookie Marcus Sasser, he's going to be out at least another week as he deals with a knee bruise from a couple of games ago. He'll be reevaluated in about 7 days. Meanwhile, Detroit is on the road in 4 of their next 5 games, including at the Mecca tonight in NYC. They face the Knicks at Madison Square Garden for a 7:30 game, trying to end their 5-game spiral. That action will be right here on 97.1. And the latest edition of The Match is today in golf. The next participants, Rory McIlroy and Max Homa, pairing with LPGA stars Lexi Thompson and Rose Zhang in West Palm Beach. That'll be a 6:30 broadcast on TNT. From the Corewell Health Sports Desk, I'm Chris Villar. For more, go to 97.1 The Ticket and Odyssey.com.
All right, Doug Karsh, Scott Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. We'll get back to your phone calls momentarily. Mondays mean Champ and Chump. A little bit later this hour, we hear more from Brad Holmes. Got some Red Wing trade deadline stuff to get into. But first, Gator, something I didn't expect, I guess I should have, but a retirement was announced today, and it was a member of the media. And almost every time I bring up, well, did you hear what so-and-so's reporting? Gator responded by rolling his eyes. That is my clue to you. What member of the media that is retiring would you think that is that I described as Gator would roll his eyes when I'd say, did you see what blank reported?
It's got to be Mike O'Hara. That guy. No, I love Moose. I would eventually guess Peter King's retiring?
Correct.
The cough is too much?
Well, that actually is kind of a scary thing. He's
no,
had a cough
it
for
really
like
is.
3
Actually,
months.
I feel terrible for him for that with that. But so he's gonna is he stepping down like as of today or is it as of the end of next season?
It sounds like it's as of like the next couple of weeks. He didn't have. I don't have time to read his column because I don't have all day. And to his credit, every Monday for like the last 40 years, he's put out a small sonnet every Monday about the NFL. It's his treatment, screenplay. They're long. Like these are long reads. And I made it through probably a 10th of it today before I'm like, okay, I'm running out of time. He said he's going to print some stuff next week from the fans. But yes, Peter King is retiring. So best of wishes to him in retirement, even though you're not a huge fan. And why aren't you a huge fan again?
Yeah, just
all right. And I'm going to give kudos to a guy. That's enough. I'm going to give kudos to a guy that every year attacks the impossible, but today does start the boys' high school basketball playoffs. And Mick McCabe of the Free Press puts together his high school preview.
How long has he been doing this?
How long have there been newspapers?
I mean, seriously.
No.
I feel like since I was a little kid, Mick McCabe's been doing something with high school sports.
But it's funny when your kids are playing high school sports and you go to a lot of their games and you get to learn the league a little bit, the teams. The job of trying to cover all the high schools is tough. And he's got like division previews and the toughest district and the Final Four and a sleeper from each one. And I'm like, God bless you, man, because you're basically one dude with probably some help, I would argue. But Mick McCabe's trying to cover it all. God bless him, man. And I think right now, if you're a sports fan in Detroit, I'm like, quick, name somebody that covers high school. The sports fans, Mick McCabe.
Right.
But, all right, 248-539-9797. Let's get back to your phone calls. We go to DJ in Detroit. You're on 97.1 A Ticket. What's up, DJ?
What up, though, fellas?
Hey, DJ.
Well, one thing, y'all just made me do a complete shift. I know for a fact he's been doing at least 25 years because me and my high school team, Detroit Cooley, was in the Super 25 back in 1996, and Mick McCabe did it. So there you go. That's 25 right there that I know for a fact. I've been watching, hearing that dude since I was playing.
Yep.
Real quick, so I want to go on two things, man. My champ of the week is Patrick Kane, and mind you, I'm a 45-year-old African-American dude who's not really into hockey. I really haven't watched or played hockey since I played Blaze of Steel on Nintendo almost 30 years ago. That had me in hockey because I was playing Blaze of Steel. So I was kind of familiar with it, but I went on Twitter, and I seen that, the breakaway. And as a sports dude, man, that's literally almost one of the most exciting things in sports. Yep. For the money, you get what I'm saying, to watch him break away one-on-one. So as a sports dude, forget the fact that it was hockey. I'm like, you know what? This is big time right here. And then he nailed it. Mm-hmm. That was cold. So he clearly is the champ. To get with what you guys were saying, Brad Holmes is the GOAT until he's not. I'm real big on earning. He has earned that from me. So he's earned the fact that whatever this man does right now, I ain't questioning nothing because we went from 3 and whatever to the NFC Championship game. So I just want to say that, guys. He's the GOAT until he's not, in my eyes right now.
It's funny. I mean, we brought it up last week, and I didn't mean literally can he do anything, but he can do just about anything at 29, and I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that it was the right thing. Just about anything.
He's earned that.
Yep.
So let me throw something at you two guys right now. Would you agree that up until this point, the 2014, you guys covered this stuff, the 2014 draft for the Lions was the best in franchise history, if you remember. That's the year we had 2 All-Pros. We got Darius Slay, we got Ziggy Ansah, we got the Pro Bowl guard, until Brad Holmes, probably last 2 drafts are the best in franchise history with all the Pro Bowlers and All-Pros. So he's earned it, man. I don't trip on nothing this guy do right now.
It looks pretty good right now. So I hear you. And, yeah, I just remember the Jahmyr Gibbs calls last year. And I've said it a million times, I don't make hard and fast rules, especially as it pertains to the NFL draft, because each draft is different. And assuming when you say you can't do this, you can't do that, you're not taking into account the strengths and weaknesses of a given draft. And I mean, it stands to reason. I think everyone would agree. Some years drafts are going to be great at certain positions. And some years they're not. And some years they're going to have 10 players worth taking that'll all be starters in the league at a position. And some years there'll be 1 player worth taking. And you just don't know until years later. But, the positional value, and you can't do this, you can't do that. And I said, well, and I do remember saying this at the time, the people that hate the Jahmyr Gibbs pick, just wait if this guy is helping you win football games on Sundays. Because you almost sort of forget the practicality of what it's like when you apply an elite player at a position. And the players that he passed on, he didn't think would impact them as much as this guy. And look, we played it in that first soundbite for you when he said last hour, do you still go best player available given that your circumstances have changed? And he said, I don't pass over cornerstone players. Just free agency is for need. Draft is just for getting the best football players.
Right. And most positions have multiple players play that position. So you're not, when he says not passing over cornerstone players, I like that. I agree with that for the most part. Corner. Do you need multiple corners? Yep. Need multiple safeties? Yep. Need multiple defensive ends, defensive tackles, linebackers? Yep, and yep. Need multiple offensive linemen? Yep. Multiple wide receivers? Yep. Multiple running backs these days? Yep. Multiple quarterbacks? Not as much.
I'm a yep on the quarterback thing.
Yeah, but I guess you don't have to. If you've got a franchise quarterback, you're not expected to go ahead and draft one in the first round.
And also, in theory, he's got his second quarterback.
Yes.
In theory.
He does.
So for me, Brad Holmes isn't above criticism. I'm not saying you guys are saying that, but the free pass thing that everyone talks about with the draft, right? He doesn't get a free pass from me, but he gets a longer grace period for criticism. That's what it is. He's bought himself more time. So this instant reaction of picks he makes, everyone, and that's what we do. Everyone does it. Fans, media. Hey, I didn't like this pick. Yeah,
that's our job.
But now what you have is you have longer grace periods. So even if you don't like a pick or you don't understand why he did what he did, you give it more time before you jump all over him because you see what he's done. And And yeah, he's bought himself that. He absolutely deserves it. He's got way more longer grace period than anybody else I remember.
Well, just looking at his drafts, looking at how good they've been from another standpoint, how many games these guys have played. From the 2021 draft class, the most games you could have played would have been 50, not including playoffs, right? Two 17-game seasons and a 16-game season. And in that time, for that class, Penei Sewell has played 50 games. St. Brown has played 49. Derek Barnes has played 48. Ali McNeil has played 47. Melanfanu 34. Anzarike 26. That's pretty good production from your first draft class. The next one, the most those guys could have played would have been 34. Hutch has played 34. Pascal at 22. Kirby Joseph, 32. That's a third-round pick. James Mitchell, 29 from a fifth-round pick. Malcolm Rodriguez, 33 out of the 34 games from a sixth-round pick. It's kind of impressive. And, of course, we know what happened with last year's class. And even Sorsdahl played in 16 of the games, and that's a fifth-round pick, let alone the first 4 picks in the draft that all played 15 games or more. These guys, once they're drafted, they're on this roster, and they are playing on game days. And it's not just 1 or 2 guys. It's 4 or 5 guys that are getting to play on game days. And you look at years prior, you just don't see that kind of production. His hit rate is staggeringly high.
248-539-9797. All right, straight ahead. Steve Yzerman, speaking of GMs, he's got decisions to make. A prediction from an insider on what they'll do at the trade deadline. We'll get to that at 11:20 here on 97.1 The Ticket. Doug Carr, Scott Anderson, 97 The Ticket. All right, so Red Wings out of the All-Star break have won 6 of 8. They toughed out that 3-2 OT win at Chicago yesterday on the second day of back-to-backs. They just dismantled St. Louis on Saturday. Okay, Saturday was boys against men. And look, if you watch the broadcast between periods, Mark Messier and PK Subban were just gushing over the Wings. I mean, gushing at how great they played and how great they looked. And I believe it was Subban who eventually said, I tell you what, I don't want any part of this Red Wing team come the Stanley Cup playoffs. I would not want to have to play them. And that's cool and everything. But we're, still a long way away from the playoffs. But we're closing in on the trade deadline. And I'm thinking to myself, if you don't want part of the Red Wings in the playoffs, how much less do you want them if Yzerman actually goes out and gets a significant piece? If they go get, for just example's sake, Tarasenko from Ottawa, and he goes back to that Steve Stais well again and calls up his old, they go way back, his friend in Ottawa and maybe make a deal. Or Jake Getzel, I know is out for a while here, but could be traded in a contract year by Pittsburgh. I mean, what if he goes and adds a piece that makes him even that much more the team you don't want to play? Because I feel like a little bit with the national network, sometimes they come parachuting in, they catch you on the right day, and they can overstate the case. But they couldn't say enough great things about the Wings. And I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, and what if? And what if Yzerman says it's worth going for it with this group?
Well, they've got the tools necessary to get something done. They have draft picks. If they wanted to trade them. They've got some prospects if they wanted to trade some of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got guys that are seemingly knocking on the door like, hey, give me a chance. Like Berggren, who's more than a point-a-game guy with Grand Rapids right now, but doesn't really get much play with the Red Wings. Is that a forward that if you couple that with, a second-round pick, does that get you somebody of significance? Does that get you a cornerstone piece? Going back to
first-round pick.
Brad Holmes speak? Because the Red Wings have a nice roster. It's got a lot of depth in it. But do they have the cornerstone pieces that other teams have? I mean, I really like Dylan Larkin. I really like, Patrick Kane and DeBrincat and Mo Seider. But these guys are all they're good players, but are any of them great anymore? Not quite great. Can you find a great player? That's tough to do. It's tough to do at this point in the year unless you go to some team that, like you mentioned, if it's a team that's on the outs and they got a contract they want to unload, but it's still a quality player. Can you swing a deal to get somebody like that? Maybe, but the Red Wings have every night they have it's seemingly like 8 defensemen to decide who's going to play, and they've got extra forwards who's going to play, and they have so much depth on this team. But at this point, if you're Steve Yzerman, do you want to trade some of that away to get a top 6 forward or to get a top 4 defenseman?
Okay, so The Athletic over the weekend did, bold predictions for each team at the trade deadline. Every beat writer that covers a team did a prediction of what they're going to do at the trade deadline. And ours here in Detroit is Max Bultman. And he writes about, the biggest addition. And he writes, the biggest addition will come from within. With the energy of a playoff race starting to buzz through the city, the Red Wings look like they're out of cellar territory. Locally, there's even a hunger to see them improve the roster for a potential playoff series. But while Detroit's grip on an Eastern Conference playoff spot is probably approaching a level that would justify buying, the prediction here is that the Red Wings will instead sit out the deadline, trusting in the depth that has gotten them thus far, and knowing that a top prospect, Simon Edmondson, is ready to help them if the need arises. And there's a real chance that Detroit will need Edmondson down to help them down the stretch if injuries strike. It wouldn't be a shocker to see the Red Wings add at the margins, but we'll say they sit tight at the deadline and instead get a real contribution from Edmondson down the stretch. And I think that's interesting. But on Friday, Emily Kaplan of ESPN did some trade deadline buzz writing, and she wrote in part of the Red Wings, quote, Steve Yzerman is perhaps the most secretive general manager in the league. It sounds like Yzerman is focused on making the playoffs this season, capitalizing on a strong first half. I was surprised a few weeks ago when I heard that David Perron, a potential unrestricted free agent and an emotional leader in the locker room, was potentially on the move. I do think there were legitimate discussions about trading Perron, but they have since quieted. In fact, I believe a contract extension for Perron could be in play either right before or after the March 8th deadline. If it doesn't get done, don't be surprised if they re-engage over the summer on a potential new deal in Detroit. That said, Detroit has to be listening to offers. That said, Yzerman has to be listening to offers on his defenseman. I'm thinking, has to be listening to offers on his defenseman. Does he have to be listening to offers on his defenseman? Like, would they really sell? Now, this was written Friday morning and posted at 7:30 a.m. And then over the weekend, they dismantled St. Louis and beat Chicago and further ingrained themselves in the playoffs. But then I start marrying these two. Would Yzerman sell a defenseman just to clear the way for Evason? Because they got a lot of guys. Like, can you get something for somebody on the blue line? And I'm not here to even speculate who. I haven't gone down that road yet and what you might get. But would he sell off a defenseman under contract to clear a spot to move up Edmonton?
I think it's quite possible.
Is this how both predictions could be true?
It could be. Yeah, because we've long been talking about the trade deadline, alluding to it anyway the last few weeks as we get closer and closer, and here we are a week and a half away from it. It's March 8th. And I think the obvious things the Red Wings can do to add more new blood into this lineup is to promote Simon Edvinsson. Or maybe it is Jonathan Berggren that both of these guys come up. The goalie situation, we've felt kind of uneasy about it for a while here. But as this streak is going on, Alex Lyon's been so good. And now Reimer it's his last 3 games, his save percentage is like .960 or something. It's less of a concern at this point. So maybe, people that thought that the Red Wings should go after a netminder for insurance, and whether that was Saros or Marc-Andre Fleury, maybe that's calmed down. You don't have to worry about that because now it's concentrating on the skaters and not the goaltending.
Well, it's funny if you look back in retrospect that some of the moves the Red Wings made, some came with fanfare, others did not, but many of them are working out. 248-539-9797. Wings fans, are you feeling a go-for-it vibe? I wasn't 1 week ago. I'm rethinking that position today. And, every time they keep winning a game. They keep winning these overtime games, which is awesome. It doesn't really carry over to the postseason. So they're important when it comes to the immediate task, which is getting there. But they're also kind of these weird gimmicky wins that, they count. They count, but if you give me a choice of a regulation win over an OT win, I think a regulation win is more meaningful if you just keep doing it. But you're still winning the games. You're getting the points, and you're putting yourself in an advantageous position where you really have to consider whether or not a bold move is in store and appropriate. It's Carson Anderson, Open Lines, 97.1 The Ticket. Doug Carr, Scott Anderson, 97.1 A Ticket. Open lines, 248-539-9797. Let's get back to your open line calls. We go to Justin. You're on 97.1 A Ticket. Hello, Justin.
Hey, thanks for taking the call.
Sure.
I just want to talk about Tigers free agency, and there was a caller earlier, I think it was right before 11 o'clock. He was comparing Scott Harris to Brad Holmes and Mark Hanna to Cody Bellinger, and I don't understand why fans get so caught up in money. It's not our money. For one, Chris Ilitch isn't spending the money to put a winner on the field. So, I mean, what are they, like $30 million below league average in payroll? So why would fans get caught up about, $11 million for Mark Hanna or $30 million? It's not our money. I don't understand that. So if it's your job as an owner to put a winner on the field, you should be spending your money, just like his dad did. And I hate to bring up Mr. I, but Chris isn't doing what he needs to do to put a winner on the field.
So a couple things about it, Justin, and I tend to agree with you. The one thing is you just don't want to waste the money, right? You don't have endless budget. I mean, you don't. There is no salary cap, but you know your team isn't going to spend like the Yankees, and so you don't want to waste the money. And if deep down they believe Jace Young is going to be playing third before the year is done, why spend $30 million on a player that might come in and play third? Now, Bellinger, obviously, he would be, where is he going to play? Who's he going to take at bats from? And maybe they're just like committed, we don't want to take at bats from anybody. But the Canna thing, I mean, they literally chose Canna when Bellinger was available. Maybe they called about Bellinger and he wasn't interested in Detroit. But I hear what you're saying. I mean, I find this offseason to be pretty disturbing. I thought they could have done more. I wish they would have done more with starting pitchers. I feel like, to me, the starting pitcher thing is the bigger issue. I wish they'd gone a little bit more aggressive with that.
Yeah, I know Jack Flaherty isn't turning anyone's heads. I know Kenna Maeda might be like a nice story, but yeah, we're hoping on we're hoping on Casey Mize and Matt Manning and people coming off injuries. And I know Scooble's going to be an ace, but other than that, yeah, I agree with you there. It's just good to spend money. I just don't understand. It's just not. It's not up to the fans to sit there nickel and dime. Yeah, when it's one thing if we're not even at league average. Like I said, we're $30 million below league average, and it's not like it's salary cap. So you can't compare Scott Harris to Brad Holmes, or Brad Holmes has to actually make calculated moves to stay under a salary cap, and the draft is a little bit more meaningful in the NFL. So
I guess I would feel a lot better about if they said, hey, yeah, we could have afforded Bellinger, and we could afford Chapman, or we could afford Blake Snell, which is probably the one that sits biggest with me, is Flaherty over Snell. But instead, we are going to give these young players that are cornerstones their opportunity. And that includes, by the way, in a rotation that maybe Flaherty's the odd man out and Matt Manning gets more innings or whatever, more starts. However, if I would love to hear them say, yeah, we are poised to spend big time, but we're not going to do it just yet. We're going to wait till the time is right, and that time might be the trade deadline.
Well, you've got 9 teams in Major League Baseball that have a payroll that exceeds $200 million. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that skews what the average payroll is going to be. That being said, yeah, I'd like to see the Tigers spend some more money. I'm like everybody else. I'm not thrilled with Flaherty, Maeda, particularly when you see that Blake Snell is still available. Like, would you eschew both of those contracts and sign Blake Snell? Yes. And even more so when you see that the Tigers, you know what, they have 6 or 7 guys that can compete for the starting rotation. Well, if you didn't sign 2 of those guys, you're lessening that. So it's a little disappointing. I agree, but I think they're giving players an opportunity to show that they're everyday players. This year it's Colt Keith. Maybe Justin Henry Molloy gets his opportunity. I think what they're doing is, in a way, they're trying to not block the path of Chase Young to play third base next year. But it doesn't, for this year, this is a team that could very well compete for this division and make the playoffs. And if you're not going to sign a Chapman type player to play third base, if you're going to leave that open for open competition, then you bring in Gio Urshela, at the last minute before spring training. Yeah, I get it. I'm not thrilled with it either.
248-539-9797. Joe, you're next. What's up, Joe?
Hey, good morning, guys.
What's up?
Hey, hear me out for a second. I got a Red Wing UFA that I think would fit back here in Detroit. goes by the name of Anthony Mantha. Now, he's 6.5 AAV, but he's got size, he's got grit, he's physical, and in the playoffs, you guys know this, it gets more physical. They amp it up with the hitting, and I think he would be a good fit to come back home, finish off his career here. The Caps are probably not going to make the playoffs, so they're going to probably dismantle the team. What do you guys think?
I'm a little confused. Do you mean signing him after the season is done or trading for him because he is an unrestricted free agent?
No, he's a UFA, so sign him, bring him in the team on the draft day, on the 8th, and then finish off the season with him.
You're talking about trading for him.
Yeah, on the 8th.
Okay, gotcha. All right. When you keep saying
bring him in,
sign him, you'd have to trade for him.
Sorry, I worded it wrong.
No, it's okay. So he was bad last year. He's having a better year this year, and he's
not dependable.
I wonder how Steve Yzerman would feel about a player he traded away, and I don't think he didn't seem to have any regrets about it. He can put the puck in the net, and there is a market for him.
Well, he hasn't had a 20-goal season since he was with the Red Wings. He's got 18. He's got 18 this year. Yeah, he should be about to. But I used to be a big Anthony Mantha fan. I was enamored because of the size of the player. It looked like he played kind of physical at times, but he would take so many games off. It just looked like this guy skated out there like his head and heart weren't in it. I think there's a reason Red Wings traded him away. I don't think he wanted to play Red Wing style hockey. Like put it in football leagues, because that's what we like to do, with bring everything back to the Lions. This is not a guy Dan Campbell would want on his team.
Probably not.
I don't think it's the guy Steve Yzerman wants on his team. That's why he got rid of him when he had the chance. Anthony Mantha is I wish he was what his potential was, because there was a time when he and Larkin playing together that it looked like this was going to be a line to be reckoned with in the NHL for years to come, and it just never really materialized. Never had a season where he had more than 48 points in a year. I mean, he is on pace to get 20 goals this year, but he's got 29 points. He's got 18 goals and 11 assists. I just don't see Anthony Mantha having any impact on any team here on out. I mean, he's not a clutch performer. I just don't see it.
So we were talking about moves the Red Wings have made that have worked. I mean, if you start thinking about some of the bigger ones, Alex DeBrincat, I was looking at a list of the best offseason moves. This one was listed first, although I noticed that they weren't listed. It wasn't like number one. It was just the first one that they mentioned. Out of like 4 or 5 really good offseason moves, DeBrincat was listed at the top. I mean, the Patrick Kane thing, right? The Patrick Kane thing is about age, and it's about an injury, a unique injury, and is he going to come back from it?
Patrick Kane has played himself into a position where I think the Red Wings should extend him. You need to find out how much longer he wants to play hockey. I think he likes it here with this team. This team is playing well enough where they're going to make a playoff push. He's playing with his buddy and Alex DeBrincat here. I think the team has really kind of taken him in and really show that they approve of this signing. I don't know what it would cost to give him a 2-year extension. Is it 2 years and at $5 million a season? I don't know. But you don't find guys like this that you can re-sign that are point-a-game guys in the NHL all that often.
It's crazy, though, because the one move that I often talk about this and cite this as a moment in time. When our teams make moves, we get press releases from the teams. They get emailed to our inbox. Your work email, you show up. And one of them, I remember very distinctly, we got this once, and I'm like, maybe we'll give this a mention. I'm not even sure we did. And it was in the middle of an off season, and we got a press release from the Detroit Tigers, said Tigers sign J.D. Martinez to a minor league contract. And I'm like, probably nothing here. Delete. We get on the air, and we might have mentioned it, probably not. And then,
hey, gets a chance to play with Detroit. Didn't really get much of an opportunity where he was with Houston or whatever.
But it turned out to be an awfully significant signing. And it's always crazy when one of those takes place and we have an opportunity to say something on the air about it, but we decide, nobody knows who this is. This isn't that big of a deal. And you make the editorial decision that you're not going to bring it up because it's of little interest to your audience. I want to go back and listen to the show in early July of last year when the Detroit Red Wings signed goaltender Alex Lyon to a 2-year contract for $900,000 a year.
Right.
Because I would bet that email was in our inbox. And I would bet that we didn't give it nary a mention. And when it's all said and done, this could be one of the most significant things that they've done. If they do anything moving forward this year, that might be the biggest of all of their moves. And it's always funny. I'm pretty sure we edited that one out of our show content that day, not thinking it would be significant at all.
Yeah, I think if anything,
and you know what? Sorry, just real quick, because everybody loves to criticize what we're talking about. We get flooded. If you ever want to feel bad at what topics you choose, you go read the ticket text. I would wonder if we even got one text that day from a listener saying, aren't you even going to talk about Alex Lyon signing with Detroit? Because I would bet we didn't. When virtually everything we don't bring up, we'll get criticism for not bringing it up.
No, there would not have been a whole lot of buzz about that because he hadn't played a whole lot, although down the stretch with Florida last year, he played pretty well, and I think that was about what we said, which was kind of similar conversation we had about Ville Husso. Hey, another guy getting a chance to play every day. Let's see what he can do, but not a big track record there. Let's, okay.
Yep.
And obviously Alex Lyon has been great with the Red Wings in 26 starts. He's 17-8, save percentage of .916, goals against average of 2.68. He's played awfully well with this team. It's great to see.
When they got Kane, we talked about it. When they traded for DeBrincat, we talked about it. When Alex Lyon signed, I'm about 100% sure we didn't talk about it, and nobody cared that we didn't talk about it. And could be as important as any of those moves. 248-539-9797. Get to more of your phone calls and feedback coming up. Champ and Chump every Monday. Get your votes in for Champ and Chump on the weekend. We'll hear more from Brad Holmes in the noon hour. The Lions GM joined our morning show today, including the question of whether or not they got a plan for Jared Goff and a contract extension. Hear that in the noon hour here on Carson Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Hey, get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. So find a heavy favorite, play that heavy favorite, and then when they win, you get $150 in bonus bets. How about that? Bet all your NBA favorite players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/Doug to shoot your shot. FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in Michigan. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit is required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problems? Call 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help. Doug Carr, Scott Anderson, 97 won a ticket. A lot of excitement in Detroit. NFL Draft Combine, unprecedented excitement about our Detroit Lions going into an offseason, and people were always stoked. You got a Red Wing team that's not only trying to prove that they're good enough to be in the playoffs, you got the national crew on ABC saying, I wouldn't want a part of this Red Wing team come Stanley Cup playoff time and a trade deadline right around the corner. You got much interest in the Tigers, although some angst. We're getting some angst today about the fact that they weren't more aggressive in the offseason. With the news that Cody Bellinger signed with the Cubs over the weekend. Still guys out there that could help the Tigers if they were serious about winning this division. It doesn't feel like you have to be great at professional baseball to win the American League Central.
Because you don't.
Nope. But the Tigers aren't acting like a team that's trying to win the Central. They're acting like a team that's ready to give some young kids a shot, which has a degree of excitement to it. But it's I understand the fans' frustration that they didn't spend more money, and I kind of agree with them.
Yes, and I understand that as well. I think the other way to look at it, if you look at it from Scott Harris's point, is that this is a team that won, 78 games last year? So if they believe in the players to get incrementally better, some guys take a big step forward, that you've got a team that no longer has Miguel Cabrera in the middle of your lineup most days, where he's not going to be driving in runs and maybe not all that productive. You can give it to somebody else and kind of share that load. If you like what you have, you're expecting to compete for the division without having to make a splash. Now, the counter to that is, great, why don't you add players and then you put yourself over the top and you guarantee yourself a playoff spot? And I think that's where some people are. Maybe where Scott Harris is at is that, all right, I get that, but I'm still trying to, we know we're going to be better this year. We expect to be better this year. We want to see what we have with our own guys. This is something we want to sustain for years to come, not just be flash in the pan here and then look at a contract a couple years down the road and regret that we've got another Javi Baez contract.
I guess the question, if we ever have a chance to speak to Scott Harris, that I'd love to ask is, has ownership given you the green light to go after these guys, and you've chosen not to yet? Or have you been told make this work and this is your budget? Because there's a big difference.
But you know what his response is going to be. I mean, he'll give a typical...
I'm not asking for what he would say on the air. I want to know the real answer.
Okay, fair enough.
Because if you knew that the answer
was...
Under
truth serum.
Yeah. If our guy is like, no, because I remember talking to somebody in charge of a situation and saying, hey, are they going to give them the green light to make any move they want? And the answer was yes. Fans were mad at the time, but it was the guy in charge was making the decisions. I'm not going to make this move yet. Something completely different. But as long as you have the okay to do it and choosing not to, I think people don't think that Scott Harris has the okay to do it.
Well, if you've got
the new GM,
if you've got the okay to do it and you've chosen not to, it's because you believe in a different plan.
Yep.
And I think that's probably what's going on here more than anything else. And Scott Harris hasn't been a GM in Major League Baseball long enough where he's got a track record where you can say, well, I got to believe in him. Because he's done it. He's done what Brad Holmes has done. I believe in Brad Holmes. He's earned it. Scott Harris hasn't gotten to that point yet, but he still deserves the opportunity to work his plan.
Yeah, and whether it's Scott Harris or the actual GM, Jeff Greenberg, who we got to probably start looping into these discussions. 248-539-9797. Lenny is next on 97.1. What's up, Lenny?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I don't think the Wings are going to make any changes. And I say that first, I want to point out, Doug, you probably know this, that when you don't have confidence in your goalie, you don't take a lot of offensive risks for fear of a turnover, an odd man rush. And maybe that's what happened in December to this team. Husso wasn't very good. Then you move on to Lyon, and things have gone really well. The Wings have given up 2 or fewer goals in most of their games since January 1st. So I don't know why we would need another goalie or another defenseman. When it comes to forwards, hey, we're in the top 5 in scoring. We're scoring lots of goals. Why would we need a guy who's played for 3 teams in 4 years, Vladimir Tarasenko? And if the Wings wanted to make any move, it would be to move Perron to bring up Berggren. But Perron is great for chemistry in the room. Maybe Stevie is thinking like Brad Holmes. We're going with our guys. We need to see how far we can go with our guys, and we're not going to disrupt the chemistry in the room. So because of all that, I don't think the Wings are going to make a move at all.
It's probably the smartest play. I mean, when we sat back, and by smartest play, I mean, if you had to put a chip on, buy, sell, or stand pat, the chip on stand pat probably is the best value, because I think that is likely what he's going to do. We read the prediction from Max Bultman earlier, The Athletic, that says he thinks he'll stand pat. I think the idea of moving one of their veteran blue liners to clear a spot for Simon Edmondson might make sense. And yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is, what do they got? 10 double-digit scoring forwards suiting up every night, which is incredible depth. So yeah, I mean, they do score. If you can get better, it doesn't mean you don't get better. You're one of the best scoring teams in the league, but could you even be better? Or if you think you're going to improve on special teams, a facet of special teams, it does make sense. But he doesn't have to make a move. He doesn't have to make a move.
Well, since January 1st, they're 8-2 in games where they've scored 4 goals or more. And they are 16-1 in games where they've given up 3 goals or less. And they've only played 21 games in a month. So not only are they not giving up as many goals.
They've only played 21 games
I'm sorry, not since January 1st.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Sorry.
So in the better part of 2 months.
January, in 2024, they played 21 games. And in 17 of those games, they've given up 3 goals or less, and they're 16-1 in those games. That's how you do it. Remember a couple of years ago, Ken Cal gave us the stat. He's like, look, this team scores 3 goals, they win the games, but they just couldn't score. Now they're scoring. Now they're not scoring at this torrid pace, but they are scoring goals. And as I mentioned, in 8 of these games since the new year, they've scored 4 or more, and they're 6-2 in those games. So they're playing obviously much better hockey. And they've got 3 big games this week. You got a game tomorrow night against Washington. Then you've got the Islanders, and then they finish up with Florida over the weekend.
All home, right?
All home games. This is big. And I feel like the way that the fans are responding right now, we're going to have playoff atmosphere at LCA. And it's getting fun again. Can they keep it up? And it's 5 wins in a row. Can they keep this pace up and continue to put distance themselves where now, at some point, maybe we're not talking about the wild card spot. Maybe we're talking about clinching, 3rd spot in the division. They're chasing Toronto for that, but they're not terribly far behind.
This is interesting times indeed down at LCA. And, if they stand pat, it doesn't mean they're not trying to win it. They brought in a lot of veterans to try and win now. They've supplemented with a couple of young players. The Edmondson piece is going to be really interesting to see if and when that card gets played, and what we should expect out of him, and whether or not it's curious that he hasn't been called up yet. The story by Emily Kaplan of ESPN about how the Yzerman should be in his fielding calls about his defenseman. It would, for a team that's going for it, you don't think sell, but when you've got that piece down on the farm, do you sell before he's proven anything at this level though? I don't know. 248-539-9797. We'll get to more of your phone calls and feedback coming up. Champ and Chump votes. Hear from Brad Holmes next hour, the best of what he told the morning show, including if the cap going up is going to change their approach to free agency this offseason. At the noon hour here on 97.1 The Ticket. Doug Harsh, Scott Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Open line calls, 248-539-9797. We are talking about a variety of things here. On a Monday, good weekend for the Detroit Red Wings with a pair of wins. On Saturday over St. Louis, they just dismantled the Blues on a national network game, and boy, did they get a ton of praise. PK Subban, Mark Messier. The line that resonated with me is, I wouldn't want any part of this Detroit team in the postseason. Not when they're playing like that, and they've had a couple of games like that of late. Now, the win streak is built on a foundation of a bunch of overtime wins, and that means they played these teams even in regulation, which is good. They've happened to have won 4 in a row in overtime. Not 4 in a row total, but of their last 4 overtimes since the All-Star break, they've won them all. And it's part of a 6-2 run to start the post-All-Star stretch of the schedule. But as we approach a trade deadline, they will play between now and March 8th 4 more games. So 4 more games before Steve Yzerman has to make a call. They decide to go for it. They decide to stand pat. And they actually might sell to clear a spot maybe for a Simon Edmondson. I mean, they could just call him up if they wanted to, but you've got to they like to get something for a player before, they do that. That'd probably be ideal for them. And it was Emily Kaplan at ESPN who wrote on Friday morning that the Red Wings are fielding calls on David Perron. That's probably quieted down, and now they might extend him. But if they do, but she did expect him to listen to calls for blue liners. So there's that. There's the Tigers. I've gotten calls, people complaining about ownership, not spending the money. And I think I'm a little bit more on board with those complaints than you, although you understand them as well.
I get them. Yeah, I guess for me, I want to give Scott Harris a little time to breathe here and give him a chance to put his stamp on what this team is. He's got a philosophy on how he wants to build the team, and I'll give it here. This wasn't an offseason that had a lot of great free agents out there, but there were a couple. And
definitely people that could help.
Yeah, they definitely could have. There's a couple guys that could have helped, and they've passed on the higher priced guys, and they have spent some money, but they're still spending well below the league average. But the league average is skewed because the haves are really spending money, and the have-nots are not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's more like what's the median as opposed to the average.
Champ and Chump, get those votes in. My champ of the weekend was Patrick Kane, the 2 overtime game winners. Gator, your champ of the weekend.
I give it to the Blackhawks fans. They really showed up yesterday, and it cheered the right moments, gave Patrick Kane a standing ovation for, 2 minutes in that first period. And when he scored the game-winning goal in overtime, it didn't seem like the fans were that distraught that they just watched their team lose in overtime. They were just happy for Patrick Kane.
My jump of the weekend is Wake Forest fans rushing to court. I don't know if we'll have time for it today, but the absurdity of players not being able to safely get off the floor. We've talked about it. It was only a matter of time, and now we might have our first significant injury, Kyle Filipowski of Duke. I'm waiting for an update. I haven't seen anything on that, but if he's seriously hurt, it's probably the beginning of the end of all kinds of court storming.
Well, there's easy solutions to it. I
Yep.
mean, I think you can still have it, but how about you just let the guys get off the court before you storm the court? I think that's an easy way to do it. My chump was Michigan State hoops, losing back-to-back games at home. This isn't good. It was a heartbreaking loss yesterday to Ohio State, a team you've dominated for over 4,300 days or whatever this statistic was, losing a last-second shot there. But now there's some reasons to really get into questioning what Tom Izzo's doing there. The use of Xavier Booker was really kind of strange, how much he used him in the first half and how little he was using in the second half, and he was effective in the first half. You built up a decent lead at halftime, 10 points, and then it goes away in the second half.
248-539-9797. Get your votes in for Champ and Chump of the Weekend. Coming up this hour, Brad Holmes was on the morning show here, what he had to say about a variety of topics, including about what it's like to draft at 29. 248-539-9797. Chuck, you're next on 97 on a ticket. Hello, Chuck.
Hey, good afternoon, guys.
What's up?
Hey, question for you. Talking about the Wings is awesome, first of all. Love it. So, question. We're talking about bringing this defenseman up, this kid in Grand Rapids. Mm-hmm. Great. Probably need the help on the blue line. But Bergeron, I mean, if he's playing well and he's such a great trade chip, why don't they just bring him up?
Interesting question. I've wondered it myself. There's has it been confirmed, or is it just a rumor that he turned down a contract extension? And
I don't know. I heard that he was unhappy with the system, with the club.
Yeah.
But I figured it was just because they were keeping him in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, I mean, if he's that good and he's blocked and they're trying to win games and they don't think he can do it, he seems like he would be a prime trade candidate. And yet, I don't know. I don't know why they're calling.
I'm not sure. I mean, he's 41 points in 39 games at Grand Rapids. He's shown the ability where he can hang in the NHL when he's gotten his opportunities with Detroit. So I'm not sof what's going on there.
Just seemed goofy to me. Appreciate the help, guys.
No, maybe I'm not sure we did help.
I think we kind of asked the same questions. So when the trade deadline comes and goes, do you think Berggren is on the Red Wings roster? Is he still at Grand Rapids, or has he been traded?
Well, I feel like I just said, I think if I'm going to take my chip and put it on buy, sell, or stand pat, I'd put my chip on stand pat as the most likely thing, straight investment bet. So I guess he's still part of the organization. But if they don't have a spot for him and he's not happy and they offered an extension, and again, I guess we got to find out if that's been confirmed. Bottom line is, he seems like he'd be a likely trade candidate if they're not going to call him up to help now. If there's a market for him.
Yeah.
And by accounts there are.
Because he's performed, and if you pair a player like that, who I think a lot of people think it's a decent prospect, pair that up with a first-round pick, are you getting a top 6 forward or a top 4 defenseman? You probably have an opportunity to.
You said pair it with a first-round pick? Yeah. 248-539-9797. Phone calls, feedback, champ and chump votes coming into the Carson Anderson inbox. Let's get to some of that. From an unnamed texter, my champ, and it's not even close, is Patrick Kane. He looked like Hollywood. It looked like Hollywood wrote the script for that game yesterday. I had goosebumps all night. My chump is Monty Williams. As much as I have defended him and was excited they hired him, what he's doing to me is next level bad. He should not be back next season. Given that he's in year 1 of a pretty big contract, I think he's probably back next season.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of head scratching going on with how he's approaching this first season with the team. There's a lot of head scratching going on with what Troy Weaver has done to build this team. I don't know what the right lineups are to roll out or not. It almost feels like they're trying to figure out who the bench rotation is going to be at this point, because they acquired all these players at the trade deadline. It seems like every other minute they're activating another player. They're signing another player from the G League or whatever, and none of them are really of consequence. Now, Marcus Sasser's going to be out for at least a week now, so does it give somebody else an opportunity? I don't know. I mean, what do they have? They've got their starting 5. Is Fontecchio part of the starting 5? And then beyond that, they've got Grimes and Stewart when he comes off the suspension list.
248-539-9797. My champ is the Red Wings chump the Pistons every time until they get to 10 wins. That's from DC. Beeler writes in, I hate to do it, but my champ is the Blackhawk fans for continuing to show their respect for Patrick Kane, even after he scored the game winner against them. My chump is Scott Harris for not grabbing one of these quality free agents to help the Tigers compete.
I almost
for
did
likely
this.
A small cost.
My champ and chump, I almost did champing the Blackhawks fans and chumping Jim Belushi.
Because you hate Jim Belushi.
Yeah, but fortunately I didn't see him at all in any of the things that happened yesterday with all the honoring of Chris Chelios. So they had all the his famous friends over there, Eddie Vedder and Cindy Crawford and others. There were a bunch of former hockey players. Wayne Gretzky was there. Ty Domi was there, and it was kind of cool. Did you hear the Bob Bugner comment after the game?
Yes.
Wings associate coach.
So when he walked past Cindy Crawford in the tunnel and turned to someone and said, boy, she's pretty.
Right, because she was going out onto the ice to or was coming off the ice after doing the Scoro, and she actually scored.
And to which Derek Lalonde's comment was something along the lines of, paraphrasing here, oh, really? One of the world's most famous models is pretty?
You got a pretty good eye there, big boy, I think is what he said. Something like that.
Jody in the D writes in, champ, Red Wings, chump, Tom Izzo. Ted in Royal Oak says, hey, Doug, just an FYI, today is National Pistachio Day. Pistachios. They take some effort.
Yeah.
They're really worth it. You either have to pay to get them shelled, and they're a lot more expensive that way, or you just got to put in the effort.
And then you have the red pistachios too, right?
Yep.
I don't know if I've ever gone with the red pistachios. I think it was because watching Naked Gun back in the day, and they were on a stakeout and they ate so many red pistachios, their whole faces were covered with red, and then of course the shells in the car when they got out of the car. But they are worth the effort. They're tasty.
Yep.
A little saltiness to them.
There's like no effort though, really. I mean,
it's not.
I mean, it's
it's
barely effort.
It's more effort than 90% of the nut family
That are already shelled?
Yes.
Well, if they're in their shells, it's probably the easiest one.
I got that or peanuts.
Well, peanuts are completely shelled. Yeah.
And they're messier. Well, sometimes you get the completely shelled pistachio, and you're like,
well, then
right.
you just pass that one
Then
up.
you just
you
discard
go
it.
to the next one that's basically halfway open. Like
Boy,
walnut.
when you get to the bottom of the pistachios, though, and there's all those leftovers that weren't cracked at all, and you're trying to figure out how do I get in there, you're biting them with your teeth, and
yeah, that's advised.
Yep. Still, though, it's
a solid nut.
It is a very good nut. All right, Brad Holmes, the cap going up going to change things for you? And is there an urgency to get aggressive and get that one player to get you over the top? Questions the morning show asks the Lions GM. We'll get to that today at 12:19 here on Carson Anderson 97.1.
Hey, it's that time of the year again. You know what it means. Got to think about your lawn and what it's going to look like in the spring, and got to take care of it. That means you talk to the great folks at Natural Way Lawn and Tree Service, where you get green, stay green with Natural Way. For a limited time only, you purchase a full lawn program and you get free grub control, but you've got to mention my name, Gator, in 97.1 The Ticket. You don't want to wait. You want to start right now. Natural Way's offer for the complete season is absolutely fantastic. Like I mentioned before, it includes free grub control. Everyone hates to see crabgrass in the summer. You see it along with dandelions. It's too late to fix it. It's just a big pain in the backside. You don't want to do that. You want to get on the schedule right now. Listen, despite the snow or the cold that we're bound to still get more snow this year and how cold it's going to be, you got to start thinking about this right now. Give them a call today, and they are going to fix it. This is a company that uses fewer chemicals and environmentally sound practices. Each lawn is assigned its own specialist. They use certified applicators and arborists. They've been locally owned for over 30 years. They know what they're doing. I've had them in my house for almost a dozen years now. I am 100% satisfaction guaranteed. In fact, they offer the 100% satisfaction guarantee. Give them a call today, 888-GET-GREEN, or go to naturalwaylawn.com.
Doug Carr, Scott Anderson, 97 won the ticket. 248-539-9797. Great to be with you on a Monday. All right, so we've had a lot of different discussions. It's been fun. But circling back to Brad Holmes, the Detroit Lions general manager, the NFL Scouting Combine, it's ongoing right now. Now, nobody's out there running around just yet. That doesn't start till Thursday. But in the meantime, there's all the off-the-field stuff, the medicals and the interviews. And very important, incredibly important. In fact, I think we could say that our organization has nailed this portion of the combine process because they're looking for a specific type of player. They've been adamant about it. They seem so committed to their philosophy that I would argue, and I have no basis in this, but of the 32 teams in the league, I feel like ours might value what's going on right now at the combine and get more out of it than any other team. Is that hyperbole? It could be.
It might be.
I'm willing to admit it.
I like their system. I like their philosophy. It's worked for this team. And when I read every day, there's another coach that says, "Don't feel like going to the combine." Like, all right, you're lost.
Another coach from another organization.
Yeah, we can just do these interviews remotely. Okay, that's totally impersonal, but fair enough. You be you, Sean McVay. Go ahead, do that. You be you, Robert Saleh. Go get him, Mike McCarthy. Matt LaFleur, You guys go ahead and do it your way.
So, Brad Holmes joined the morning show today. We played the soundbite for you earlier in the first hour, but cap went up. Everybody's got a little bit more money than they expected. Guys asked him, how much does that impact the Lions in free agency? Here's what Brad Holmes said. At the beginning of that soundbite, I almost wanted to, what I was hearing was, we can keep Jonah Jackson now. But I question how much this is going to help when everybody gets the same amount of money. I mean, everybody's cap goes up $13 million more than expected, I think it was. And so you can sit here and say, yeah, I think it's going to help. But then you realize the only way it's going to help is if you had a predetermined amount that you were willing to go with Jonah Jackson, and he said, no, I'm not re-signing for you for $12 million a year. I will sign for $18 million a year. And I will not go to free agency. I will not hit the open market if you give me an $18 million extension now. And now you can say, okay, we can do that. Other than that, if you're bidding against others, they're getting the same boost you are. So everybody's budget goes up. So it's no competitive advantage. But I could see him now saying, oh, we thought we weren't going to be able to afford you, Jonah. Now we can if you're still willing to agree to this price. Now maybe he will ask for more because everybody's bank got $13 million deeper. But
maybe they just feel more comfortable now with having to spend more money if they want to spend more money. Like, we're borderline on it now, but hey, this is a lot more than we expected to have. Feel more comfortable we can go and get somebody in a different range than what we were maybe looking at beforehand.
So the one thing about it is with $13 million per team, that means there's $416 million in free agent pool across the entire league. So if I were Jonah Jackson and I'd said to the Lions, I will sign for $18 million, and then you find out that collectively there's $416 million extra dollars on the open market for all the teams, maybe you say, let me rethink that 18 million number. If you're an agent, that's probably what you're doing. Hey, whatever we were asking for, we can ask for more now. So the price of doing business goes up potentially as well. We'll see how it plays itself out. All right, more from Brad Holmes this morning. I know there's this belief out there, and the guys are very specific with the question, and that is, what about making that one big signing to put you over the top? Here's what Brad Holmes said. When I hear that, I just hear, I want depth. I want, he basically is saying, if you believe him, that he feels a more comfortable signing 3 guys to provide depth because one injury doesn't break your back. The one injury to that one player doesn't break your back. I want to be consistent. Almost like he sounds like I want to have 2 starters at every position. Like, I don't know, because I could shoot holes in his theory, but what he is selling sounds to me like I want depth more than I want 1 star.
Well, we'll see what happens when free agency, what the truth is, right? I mean, he's selling one thing, but he can always do another thing. I'm not, I don't really buy what general managers are going to say in public too much because it's an era of misinformation, and this is what you do. You can go ahead and throw a smokescreen on it or not. The idea that you're not going to go after a big player because you think you're 1 player away because he could get injured, I don't understand that. Now, your point about he likes depth and maybe you just want to add more guys that are good players rather than add the guy who's a great player, I think it all depends on each team's roster and situation. If you feel like you've got a lot of depth at defensive end on this team, and you can make up the quarterback sack total in the aggregate, okay, great. But if you could go out and sign 1 guy and you still have depth at the position, right? Like if they go out and sign Danielle Hunter plays opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, they would still have depth because they still have James Houston. They still have Josh Paschal. If they wanted to re-sign one of their other guys, they could still do that too. I don't think they take themselves out of the running for a couple of positions of need when you look at defensive end or if you look at corner because they may sign somebody who's a $20 million player. I think they can still do that. Yeah,
that's sort of flies in the face of everything he just said there. And I don't know I'm trying to think about the smoke screen and doing an interview. There's smoke screens for the draft. I'm not sure that there's many smoke screens for free agency. Like, your players are typically going to go to the highest bidder. And
things happen fast and furious in free agency. You know how it is. As soon as midnight hits, and before that, you have the tampering period before it even begins. So if you want to be first in line with that, I don't know. I think that these guys are trained to speak in public, to not reveal too much.
I guess every single time he speaks, he's saying things like, don't expect, you're going to wonder what we're doing in March, June, and July. I don't believe in signing 1 player to put me over the top. I want depth all over the place. I mean, if he's really telling us the way he feels, and I actually think he is, I don't want him giving away the draft plans, but I'm not sure it helps in free agency. I'm not sure that smoke screens or head fakes really matter because players typically go to the highest bidder.
Well, something I still will hold to is I think that you can be patient and get a great addition in free agency.
Well, that's possible.
And if you were to look at top players right now and throw a money value on them right now, a couple of those guys are not going to get signed right away. A couple of those guys are going to wait it out. And when you wait it out, maybe that what you thought was going to be a $22 million salary for the season ends up being 16. Well, that's a big savings there. And you got to look at the player and not necessarily the money value attached to it. Did you find that guy to put you over the top, but it didn't cost you as much?
Again, with 416 extra million on the open market, I don't know how many bargains are going to be at the end, but we shall see. More from Brad Holmes. You got a plan for Jared Goff. Here what he has to say today at 12:33, 97.1 The Ticket. Champ and Chump, get your votes in. We do it every Monday. Post on our website on Tuesday's show. Who do people select as Champ and Chump of the weekend? A lot of Tigers, Red Wings, and Lions discussions today. I will say this about the Pistons, okay? I don't know what a travel is. I haven't known what a travel is in the NBA for the last 40 years. But what Paolo Banchero did at the end of that game, I think is a travel in every basketball league in the world, with one exception, the one in which our professional players play. And Jalen Duren, I'm glad that he was mad. Look, if you missed it, it was a tie game. Banchero didn't create much. He was in the corner, shuffled his feet after he picked up his dribble. We've seen it a million times in the NBA, and I guess you don't really care until it happens to your team at the buzzer, and you probably don't even really care when your team's an 8-win team. But the Pistons cared, and Duren cared about the foul call, which was nice. They lose on a last-second buzzer beater to Orlando. But is that not a foot shuffle? Like, is that not a travel?
Well, apparently the NBA reviewed it and came out and ruled it, said it wasn't. But, I mean, I don't get it. I have a hard time understanding the Euro step and all that these days. So
when my team is really good, I kind of accept the NBA for what it is. And when my team, in this case the Pistons, are really bad, I complain about everything. And I don't – it's probably not very fair. But that was a huge – I guess I complain about it, but I also – it's not like the Pistons just lost a critical game. Like, there's no ramifications to losing that game.
No, but what hurts about losing to Orlando is that these two teams were in the same spot a few years ago, both rebuilding, and Orlando has gotten much better, and the Pistons have gotten worse somehow.
Yep.
That's what's frustrating about it.
248-539-9797. All right, I promise more from Brad Holmes. Sorry. Let's get to this. Jared Goff. You got a plan for how you're going to handle Jared Goff? Here's what he said. That was the big. Oh, sorry. Apparently, we're playing the Badgley part of it too.
You want to hear what he said about Badgley?
Sure.
Already teased it, kind of.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
The whole thing's there?
Yeah.
All right, go for it. All right, some bonus Badgley there. Let's start with Goff. The Goff part of that was the least interesting, most non-committal part of the entire interview. But I figured we would play it because there is so much interest in what's going to happen with Jared Goff. So that's what he had to say officially on the record. It isn't particularly newsworthy. It isn't particularly different than anything else. It is one of the biggest stories of this offseason. So that's why we played it. The Badgley, why did we play that? I'll be honest here. I think we played it because I think Kang misedited the cut. But with that said, I was going to mention that he said there'd be competition for Badgley. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus there, Kang.
Oh, don't worry. I'll remember this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you guys do wrong, too, you know.
Yeah, there should be competition, right?
Of course. Yeah, I don't think that did not sound like a ringing endorsement of Michael Badgley because you signed to a 1-year extension or 1-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
He's not making much. They could eat that. There'll be open competition. Sure. It makes all the sense in the world. And then he tries to, back it up by saying, yeah, I mean, there's competition for all the business. No, there's not. There's competition for kicker. There's competition for other spots on this roster. Sure. But some spots, there's not competition. Amon-Ra St. Brown is not competing with anybody.
Probably not.
Sam Laporte is not competing with anybody. You know who the guys are, and then you know who the guys are that have to compete for their job, and Michael Badgley is one of them.
All right. Finally, from Brad Holmes. I thought this one was really interesting. They are picking 29th. So it's a different approach when you're picking near the bottom of the first round with your first pick. Like they've had picks around here before, but it was oftentimes their second pick in a given draft. But their first pick won't come till 29. How does Brad Holmes feel about that? Brad Holmes loves getting into the weeds, doesn't he? He loves mining for that diamond in the rough.
Well, yeah, I mean, the prep work isn't going to change. You're still working on the same draft boards. What's different is where you're picking, you know? So, and yes, I do think he likes to do it. I think there's a little bit of a flex there because he knows that he's hit on guys later in the draft. He knows that, you know, when you take Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 4th round, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. When you maneuver around and you get the players they got in last year's draft, that looks pretty good. But he's also right. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to draft Penei Sewell when Penei Sewell, who you didn't think was going to be there, falls into your lap at 7, or that Aiden Hutchinson is available at 2, you know, because the Jaguars may have erred in their pick with Trayvon Walker. Although, when all is said and done, I think all 3 of those defensive ends are playing pretty good football right now. But, yeah, picking at 29 is going to be different. I think you and I have the same feeling, though. He's not going to stay at 29.
I don't think he is. I think it's more likely he moves back than moves up, but he could move up. He's shown the propensity to do both in his time in Detroit. But is it a flex what he just said? Yeah, kind of. But I do believe he really loves getting into the weeds and feels like it doesn't matter that much to him. He's going to find players. 248-539-9797 if you want to continue down that road. Could be could be a big change coming to the way those that like to bet. Could be a change coming soon. We'll get to that today at 12:50 here on 97.1 The Ticket. Okay. Doug Carr, Scott Anderson, 97 won a ticket. So, Gator, sports betting has become a big part of what goes on now in this day and age. Fans take it all in and decide to put their dollar here or there. But there is something from the website covers.com that one of their writers, Jeff Zokadone, is writing about today. I'm going to read in part because I guess this just went down. And the suspicion is that this is going to maybe become the norm. Zokadome writes, last week, Ohio Casino Control Commission Executive Director Matthew Schuler approved the NCAA's request to ban player-specific prop bets on intercollegiate athletic competitions. So what is a player-specific prop bet? Well, let's just say, I'll give you an example of one just off the top of my head. Yesterday, somebody might have bet $1 on Patrick Kane to score a goal.
Anytime?
Anytime.
All right.
And if that player then goes and scores the goal, good for you.
Well, player prop bets, when this relates to football or something, it's hey, C.J. Stroud to throw for over 300 yards.
Yep.
More than 2 touchdown passes or whatever.
But there'll be over-unders on a player. Tyson Walker, 18.5 points. Do you bet the over or the under on that? But so that's a player-specific prop bet, and the state of Ohio is banning those, outlawing those. Story goes on to say, all college player prop wagering for individual games effectively is finished due to concerns about player harassment by bettors and inside information being sought and leaked. Ohio regulators have been quick to take operators to task over advertising and were ahead of the curve in recognizing and reacting to player harassment. Story goes on to say, I suspect Ohio won't be the last state to ban college player prop betting. Gambling industry analyst Steve Ruddock suspected similarly this morning as well. The NCAA and its president and former Massachusetts governor, Charlie Baker, are lobbying state lawmakers for similar prohibitions. So when you think about sports gambling, and I think the transition from a non-gambling United States of America to a gambling United States of America when it comes to sports gambling has gone reasonably well. There have been some issues, obviously. We all know about the Jamison Williams suspension. There's a kid at LSU that they just found out was betting like crazy when he was at LSU. You had the players at Iowa and Iowa State that were suspended.
Was it Alabama baseball?
There was Alabama baseball. There have been some issues. But the worst of the issues, I don't think we've seen yet any examples of game fixing. Have we?
No, I don't think so.
Where one of the easiest ways to fix a game, I think the most vulnerable are the college athletes, because while they are getting paid, they're not getting paid professional money. Some of them are, but most of them aren't. And how easy it would be to manipulate a college player prop. Right? I mean, if you have a player with a total, I'll just see if I can find one on my phone real quick for a game tonight. But if you have a player with a total, and that total is to score 16.5 points, that player could easily limit the amount of points they scored.
Sure.
And they are the ones with the least amount of money in their pocket relative to professional athletes. So they might be a little bit more tempted to take such a thing. And they're trying to make college props not a thing that are easily fixable before somebody gets busted for fixing them. Now, maybe, am I not thinking of one, Ken? Can you think of a college athlete or any athlete that's been busted for fixing a game since gambling became a thing a couple of years ago? I can't.
No, not fixing. I mean, busted for gambling on the games.
Yes.
That's different.
Yep.
But some people think it's the same, Doug. You know,
Armando Bacot tonight for North Carolina, over under 14.5.
Years he's been there? It seems like a long time. Right?
I'd bet the over. No, over and under 14.5. This is something that would be vulnerable to fix it. So Ohio's gotten rid of it, and the story goes on to say expect it elsewhere as well.
I think you can expect it elsewhere. It wouldn't bother me in the least if they got rid of prop bets for college games, because it's different when you're a kid who's going to school and somebody sees you in a hallway or sees you in the classroom or after classroom. It's too easy for someone to go walk up to them and say, "Hey, man, what do you think of? You're gonna complete more than 10 passes in this game, or are you thinking you're gonna? How about throwing Jerry the ball more than twice? You know, I think that stuff probably happens a lot because of just the association that they have being in the general public of a university. Whereas professionals, they can limit who their contact is with. They get up in the morning, they drive to to Allen Park if we're looking at the Lions, stay there all freaking day, come back in the afternoon, they go straight home, whatever. They may not have to be out in public as much. College kids are, because they have to go to class, they're on campus, the whole bit. There's just more of an opportunity for them to be harassed.
Yeah, but to me, it's not even that, because it only takes one person getting someone's ear, an athlete's ear. To me, it's the money thing. Professional athletes just make way too much money for this to even, that you shouldn't even be considering it. The minimum player in the NBA makes, other than the rookie contracts, are $7, $8, $10 million.
If you're making $10 million and somebody asks you to fix a game, they're going to have to give you $1 million, which means that person wants to make it up when they go place a bet. And if somebody places a massive, huge whale total on a player to make sure that they win at least their $1 million back and make it worth their while, that's probably going to get red flagged. At the college level, some of these players are living in dorms with other students who, I can only speak for my kids that are in college. They're scraping to make ends meet. They're learning how to live poor and going for the quick buck.
Well, when you're living with a non-athlete, non-athlete can bet all he wants. Athlete cannot. So can you imagine what how difficult that's got to be? If you're in a situation where your roommate who's not an athlete starts quizzing you on stuff, it's uncomfortable.
Gator, I can't, if I so much as, I'm not very good at breaking rules. I worry that, I'll be the guy that gets caught when people go, I don't know why you pay for cable, just jailbreak it. Yeah, jailbreak it, great. Buy that illegal Fire Stick.
The Fire Stick's illegal. Jailbreak is not.
I said the illegal one. Yeah. Buy the illegal one, and then you never have to pay for anything and you get everything. The moment that I get one of those and plug it into my TV will be the day that the federal government will figure out how to track them, and I'll end up in prison. What I like about this is I think about Doug in college. I made some stupid decisions. Would I try to fix a game? I don't think I would, but I could see myself if everybody in the dorm knew, hey, so-and-so's going under tonight. How many kids would start placing massive bets on that to try and score some extra cash? Could I have got swept up in something like that? I probably would have been more vulnerable than I am now as an adult. And the reason I'm bringing up we haven't heard this happen before is because I actually think this is looking out for the well-being of the youngest and most vulnerable out there that can gamble and those that play the game before somebody F's up real bad.
Well, there's all this as part of it, right? The other part of maybe why they're doing this is because you're thinking about college-age kids that are making the bets and worried about getting gambling addicts out of college-age kids that they're going to college, but they're not going to class. All they're doing is doing all the research on sports betting. Some are successful. A lot are not.
Suffice it to say, though, this feels more proactive than anything.
This is a proactive move. It would be, yeah.
And I don't hate it because, look, I put my dollars down here and there, but this doesn't really change my habits or my lifestyle. Now, there's probably some people out there that say, I bet college props all the time. I don't want to see this go away.
Yeah, but there's a big difference, too, because you're risking $1, literally $1 at a time. Okay?
I literally am.
So for the people that have a $100 bet on a parlay with props and all that, those people are like, what are you doing? You can't do that. Why am I being shut out? Because, there's a potential risk. Of course, there's a risk in everything you do. I could see the diehard gamblers getting pissed about this. I don't, gamble all that. I gamble during football season and that's it.
248-539-9797.
You'll never be able to eliminate all the, the things that you think are dirty and possibly
prone to be
just
fixed.
But this helps. I think when you start eliminating certain bets, it has to help. You're right, Gator. If you're a big time gambler or just like to gamble on all sports and all different aspects, this is not going to be good for you. It takes away another avenue to possibly entertain yourself or win money. You'll find another way. Don't worry. You'll be okay. There's a lot of things to bet on. And you may only bet on football, Gator, but there's a lot of those player props in football.
Oh, yeah. No, there are. And look, I'm not going to say that I haven't gone into the in-game parlay and look at all that stuff. Sure, I've done that. But if they were to rule that out, it wouldn't affect me. But I know it affects a lot of people.
To be clear, and just to people just joining us, this so far is only in Ohio. The expectation is it will spread, and it is only college player props, not pro player props. But the purpose here being to kind of tie up a loophole to the most prone of our society to maybe making a horrible decision, which, by the way, those decisions for the players can land you with criminal charges, fixing games. 248-539-9797. All right, let's get to your phone calls next. 97.1, the ticket.
Did you see that which quarterbacks will not be throwing at the combine?
I did not.
So Caleb Williams apparently will not.
Okay.
Jaden Daniels apparently will not.
Mm-hmm. Drake
May is undecided as of right now.
Okay.
However, and of course these guys will be throwing at their own pro days, but not at the combine. J.J. McCarthy will.
Okay.
Michael Penix will.
Mm-hmm.
And Bo Nix will.
That's good. It's that always adds to the excitement.
Yeah, well, you got guys trying to improve the draft stock versus guys that are likely to go in the top 8 picks or top 5 picks.
248-539-9797. Let's get back to your open line calls. We go to Tommy. You're on 97.1 A Ticket. Hi, Tommy.
Hi, I'm from Detroit, and I'm 60 years old. So when I was 20 in '84, the Tigers did what they did. But anyhow, according to football, they gave $30 million to 32 teams, which equals $960 million. And the league, with the new revenue, made probably $20 billion. And they're acting like they're doing a justice favor to the players, and the owners are always raking in the money. But I think the Lions could use that money on defense. The offense is fine. They had a great draft, which everyone made fun of until it all came to fruition. Now I would love to see an edge rusher on the other side, and to put pressure on the quarterback. If not that, get a deep linebacker or more cornerback.
Did you happen to hear Brad Holmes today, the Lions GM, on our radio station by chance, Tommy?
No, I just got it on iHeart, and I finally got your station. So
honestly,
probably not iHeart, but I would say this, Tommy. If you heard, if you heard what he had to say.
Thanks, Tom.
He said that free agency is about need. Draft, I just get football players. I just get the best player I can. Now, doesn't mean there won't still be an edge rusher that he goes after.
He's not going to pass on cornerstone players because of position.
Yep, for what it's worth. And the other point he made, which was really, really valid, and we all know this, free agency comes up, and every mock draft we see now is based upon need, and then you sign the player at the position you need, and now that mock draft is completely irrelevant because you don't need that position anymore. But and I'm not, is he giving away their game plan when he says, I kind of look at free agency for need and draft? I just get the best player I can. So take it for what it's worth. 248-539-9797. Thanks for the phone call and the feedback, literally. Bill, you're next here on 97.1 A Ticket. Hi, Bill.
Hi. I just want to say, I'm 69 years old, so call me old-fashioned, but I have to tell you, I am so tired of how gambling permeates sports, professional sports, college sports. It's all the ads are about gambling. What's the over-under as to whether Jared Goff's going to blow his nose at halftime? I mean, it's sickening. The guy who runs out on the Super Bowl, streaking because he placed a bet. It's just taken over sports. And the NFL are the biggest hypocrites, going after players like Jameson Williams for gambling out of the locker room. The league is built on gambling. It's become more popular because of gambling. And there's a real problem with it. A lot of young people are addicted to how easily you can gamble with mobile apps. I just think it's taken over, and the money in this, it's really unfortunate.
Do you find it? Let me ask you this, because I guess in this day and age, I find if I'm not interested in something or don't like something, it's easy to avoid. Is all the gambling stuff really ruining your time, or can you easily avoid that coverage or not pay attention to it?
Well, it's not ruining it. I mean, I'm really interested in the Red Wings again. I jumped on the bandwagon with the Lions. I like watching it. I'm not the fan that I used to be, and I try to ignore all the talk about gambling, but it's just this noise in the background behind it all. And it's just tiring, I guess, because I'm not a gambler. So that maybe I'm more sensitive to it. I just don't get it. I mean, it's entertaining for people, and I know you get your adrenaline up thinking you might win. But I don't know, for me personally, I'm just tired of how it's always constantly
But that's
there.
it, Bill. It's because you're not a gambler. I think that's the number one reason why it's going to bother you, because you're right. It is thrown in your face. It is ad nauseum on TV and on the radio with the ads. It's all out there, and everybody's got their take on, which bet you should go with. And, you can't watch NFL pregame show without seeing the gambling aspect being brought up. And, hey, this team's a 5.5 point favorite. The over-under set at 43.5. What do you think? Well, I like the over, and I like them to cover the points.
I know.
It's all part of it. I get it. And you don't like that part. And I can totally understand it. But it is the big business. It's massive business. And it's not going to go away anytime soon. In fact, it's probably going to get worse with the coverage of it.
It's interesting because when I was a kid and I had I didn't even really know what gambling was, right? When I first heard it, I thought you were just betting on who wins and who loses. And all I cared was who wins and who loses. You know what I cared about a lot? Point spreads. And it was because I wanted to know how likely a team was to win or lose. Like when I heard that, as a kid growing up in Ann Arbor, Michigan was a 2-point favorite on that road trip to Iowa City. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a tight one, but we're supposed to win. And then when I heard they were, a 34-point favorite for that home game against Northwestern, I'm like, okay, this should be a blowout. But I didn't have any sense for what it meant. I was interested in point spreads because it told me sort of the belief of how the game is going to go when played on paper. But when there's I'm watching, I had the NASCAR race on yesterday, right? And there was all this talk about this bet and that bet you can make, and I know nothing about NASCAR. And I just kind of took it all in stride. And I'm trying to see if I can relate to what he had to say in any way. And I guess I just don't let it bother me whether I'm gambling on a game or not.
It gets to me every once in a while that I think it's overdone. And maybe it's more so just flipping through channels and, going through sports channels, and it seems like all the time there's something involved with betting and get the edge and do this and do that. And I get that can get annoying. It does bother me every once in a while.
The reason we're talking about this is because the state of Ohio has approved a request from the NCAA to outlaw college player prop bets. So the most vulnerable out there to game fixing certainly are the college kids, more so than the pro kids. But today, they have decided that they will no longer take bets on college player props. So I mentioned tonight there's a basketball game between North Carolina and Miami. The North Carolina big, Armando Bacot has been there forever, but his total's 14.5. You can't bet in Ohio over or under 14.5. And I feel like they're actually being somewhat proactive and trying to cut this off before it becomes an issue. And that is betting and the college kids being prone to game fixing and point shaving. Because they're not getting the money the pros are. And when you're living on a college campus with a bunch of young kids that want to bet, they might be prying them for information. The story literally goes on to say it has a lot to do with pressure that the athletes have felt.
The college athlete.
Yeah, the college athlete has felt pressure and harassment. 248-539-9797. Also, you want to keep talking Red Wings. Hey, great weekend. Over the weekend, the ABC broadcast with the proclamation that this is not a team you want to play in the postseason. If they're already there, a team that's dangerous, what if Yzerman gets super aggressive and tries to add a better goal scorer, a better defensive defenseman? I don't know that they'd go goalie. You said you heard that rumor over the weekend, and I'm not sure it's necessary. But this whole Lion thing could be a house of cards.
Well, it could be because you just haven't seen him do it for this long. But they're doing it now. Ian Reimer both are playing outstanding hockey. Sebastian Cossa was just named goaltender of the week. Saw numbers on his last.
Who is the high Red Wing draft pick netminder from 2-3 drafts ago.
Yeah, his last 10 games, according to John Neo, his last 11 games in the AHL, he's 8-1-2 with a 1.9 goals against average and a .931 save percentage. That bodes well. And the other goaltender they have in their pipeline is Michigan State's goaltender, Trey Augustine.
248-539-9797. Phone calls, feedback. We got some Tiger calls coming in today. Lions are here from Brad Holmes today on this radio station. Sounds like free agency is for needs. Draft is best player available. At least that's what he said publicly. 97.1 The Ticket. Champ and Chump vote. Get your vote in right now for Champ and Chump of the weekend. We do it every Monday here on Carson Anderson. We post on our website on Tuesday who the people select as Champ and Chump of the weekend. Feedback coming into the Brad Holmes sound we had a little bit earlier on. If you send a text, there is a chance we will read that coming up, so stick with us. Carson Anderson, 248-539-9797. Ted, you're on 97 with a ticket. What's up, Ted?
Good afternoon, guys. Let me say it's been a long time since I agreed with anything that Ohio did. But I think that, and this might be paradoxical, that I'm now taking up airtime to talk about gambling. But my perspective is that you can't turn on a game anymore without the first thing you hear is the over-under, or the first thing you hear is the gambling odds. You know, whatever happened to talking about skill and subtlety of the game as the first thing rather than gambling?
Well, in fairness, again, I'll let you finish, but in fairness, I don't think you see that during the broadcast of the game itself. That may come up in pregame stuff, but I don't think when you watch games locally,
start.
You don't hear, Blaha talking about how, the Pistons are a 10-point underdog in this game, and look, they're getting close there, Greg.
Well, I agree, but it's the pregame where the analysis goes on, right? Where a lot of it goes on.
Yeah.
The pregame is where the perspective about the game and the players and the talent and but I can't think of the word now.
But it all leads to why there is a spread, though, right? I mean, if they're giving the information about the game prior to it, hey, so and so is hurt, and look, this team plays so much better on the road, and here's the point differential. All that leads up to why they can justify, and they're a 7.5-point favorite.
You're right. You're right about that. I just am aware over these 50 years that I've been watching, listening to sports about how this has sort of crept in. I guess I think it's nice to see somebody putting the reins on things just a little. I'm not against gambling. I don't gamble, but I'm not against it, certainly. And I just think it's nice to see them put a little bit of, tighten up the belt a little bit.
Yeah, it'd be. So how much does that change things in terms of college broadcasts and what you're going to hear? Gator, I can't remember you and I ever once mentioning, as far as content for this show, since gambling has become a thing, if we have college props, I'm not sure we've ever talked about a college prop.
No, I don't think. I mean, maybe prior to a bowl season or something like that, but even then, I don't think so because we typically don't do shows together in the bowl season.
No, but just in general, I don't know that we've ever brought up in passing, and if we have, it's been so minimal, it hasn't taken up much time.
It's been anecdotal.
Yeah, but his point that the content being overtaken by gambling analysis. Look, I have a minor amount of hostility to one facet of it that I'm not really going to go into, but there is. It's a big part of sports coverage these days. And I remember when this first happened, when we found out this was going to be legal, you and I debated how prominent it will become. And obviously in some people's eyes, it's already too prominent. And we're talking about this because Ohio just passed a law or is complying with an NCAA request. It's the Gambling Commission in Ohio, the Ohio Casino Control Commission, that they'll no longer take college prop bets. So you can't bet over-unders or rebound totals for a college player anymore, which doesn't, okay, fine. But they're protecting the most prone amongst us to point shaving and fixing of games.
I mean, for you guys, you're like, okay, whatever. But there are people out there listening are going to be like, dude, what the heck? What is this crap? I like betting on player props and rebounds and steals and assists. I ask this because the line's been blurred so much between college athletes now. What's professional, what's amateur? Because NIL, everything, right? TV deals. If they're still considered amateurs, and it's one of the reasons why they're taking these player props off in Ohio, just they're young college kids. I mean, devil's advocate, is there a chance that college games are just taken off the board then? Just eliminate college betting, and this is just for pros. You only can bet for and against pros.
I mean, I suppose it can go down that path. Another path it can go to is just, they're going to totally scrap the system of college athletics and just go to it. You are getting paid. It's not, we have to struggle to find our NIL deals. No, you're getting paid flat out to play college basketball.
But if you take the total amount of money that's being spent on paying college players and NIL deals and average it out across all college athletes and then compare it to what NFL players or pro athletes are getting, it is a tiny percentage.
Yeah.
And so, no matter what we call them, they're still the most prone amongst us. I mean, how many pros are going to risk their livelihood to fix a game? How much money is it going to take for them to take that chance?
Right.
And I think the college kid, young, dumb college kids, of which I was one. Sorry, I don't mean to call you dumb out there, 20-year-old. But I know what it's like when you're 20. Doesn't seem like that long ago.
Oh, it's a long time ago, Doug.
I still relate to that part of Doug at times.
Yeah.
248-539-9797. It'll be interesting to see which way this goes. And if it does come to Detroit, the speculation, the story on covers.com is that this will spread.
Well, it's interesting. It comes from Ohio. Because then you start going with the stereotypes of Ohio fans. And do you think that maybe they gripped the club too tightly and they were, were they more upset because Kyle McCord didn't get that 300-yard passing game? Was Kyle McCord being harassed? And that's why he's no longer at Ohio State.
I mean, I love drawing conclusions that Ohio State fans are messed up, but I don't know that that's a safe conclusion to draw.
Wasn't there an Ohio State player, too, who was getting death threats after one of their losses and things like that on social media? And I don't know if that person had made a bet on the game or anything like that, but that's, I think, as far as you're talking about protecting, the student, Doug, I think that's maybe what they're talking about. Like, eliminate this off their plate, the player prop. This is one less thing at least. It's not everything.
These aren't professionals yet, even though some of them are making some money.
They're still, most of them under the age of 22, right?
Yep. All right, regarding Brad Holmes and some of the sound bites we played, Max in Bath, Michigan writes in, Holmes has done such a good job drafting that I find myself annoyed with draft picks when I shouldn't be. Like Campbell had a very solid rookie year, but now I'm expecting Laporta, Gibbs, Sewell impact out of the gate. I need to lower my new rookie expectations. All right, so Max's point is when Jack Campbell is solid, he's finding himself thinking that's not enough. By many a measurement, Jack Campbell had a good rookie year. But he was what was he, the fourth best rookie on the team?
Yeah, I think there's a ton of potential for Jack Campbell moving forward.
But it's interesting he's saying how far it skewed him that he doesn't think as highly of Campbell as he should because he wasn't as good as Laporta, Branch, or Jahmyr Gibbs, or didn't impact the games as much. From Mitch in Chicago. What's really crazy is Larkin, our points leader, is 48th in the league. Some teams have 3 or 4 players above him. I think that shows the depth with scoring on every line. Yeah, I'd have to take a look to see how many teams have 10 forwards suiting up every night with double figures in terms of goals scored. Seems like it wouldn't be that many.
Well, when you just look at point totals, I mean, it's pretty incredible to go down that list and see, DeBrincat leads the team in scoring. It's not even Dylan Larkin. But points per game, that's different.
Here's somebody who kind of disagrees with Brad Holmes, who basically downplayed the one player away theory. Just go get one big player. Unnamed texter writes in, I just want to win a championship. That's all I want. And I want to do whatever it takes. I don't think counting on draft picks wins us a Super Bowl. We need the big fish. Okay, the beginning of that text and the end of that text are kind of in conflict with one another. I just want to win a championship. That's all I want. I want to do whatever it takes. Then he writes, I don't think counting on draft picks wins us a Super Bowl. We need the big fish. What happened to doing whatever it takes? If whatever it takes isn't.
I think what he means by whatever it takes, it means by signing the big fish. Spending big. Go for it.
I think I wouldn't have worded it that way if that's his point, but Jamie writes in, Champ Patrick Kane chumped the people complaining about storming the court. Crybabies. Really? I mean, look, a player got hurt here. And how seriously hurt is yet to be determined. It appears to be a knee injury.
Knee or ankle.
If we can't count on safely getting the athletes off the floor, what are we doing?
But this is also like I don't remember ever hearing about players getting hurt because of storming on the floor.
But we've said it a million
We're
times.
surprised it doesn't happen.
Is that it's only a matter of time. And now that it happens, it's going to get more scrutiny.
Look, it's easy enough to stop.
I don't know who this person's a fan of, but what if it was a player from your team? Duke has national championship aspirations.
It would seem it's easy enough to say, hey, hold off 10 seconds, let the visiting team get off the court, then go ahead, storm the court.
Yeah, I mean, the spontaneity of the court storm, it's hard to, ladies and gentlemen, please pause 10 seconds while we remove, like, these are college students. I'm not sure how much they're going to comply, but to jump the crybabies? I mean, what are we doing? You're jumping the crybabies. A player has an injury here. Remember that video of Caitlin Clark getting run into by the Ohio State fan? Like, how far are we just going to let this happen before somebody gets severely hurt? And it might have already happened to a team that's trying to win it all. Crybabies?
No, it's Duke. That's why.
Yeah, maybe. That's not fair.
No, it's not. Of course, it's not fair. It's just it is. I think that's why they say it, and because people haven't really gotten hurt in the past, and now we're going to have a knee-jerk reaction in some people's minds that something has to be done. Something can be done, and it doesn't. You don't have to rewrite history to do it. It's just,
Yeah, I mean the.
How about get security to protect the visiting team?
Having been on the football field through an era where Michigan lost a bunch of games, and every time they did, the field got stormed, getting off the field was always a dicey proposition, to the point where those of us that could start to account for it before it happened, when we saw it was going to happen, and I knew I wasn't going to do any more field reports, I could pack up and get over to the tunnel so I didn't have to deal with it, because you are almost always in a court storm or field storm situation. You're almost always swimming upstream. And the people running towards you typically don't like you. And if they notice you, they're not particularly interested in getting out of your way. So I can't believe this person jumped the quote-unquote crybaby.
Well, this is also why, I mean, you have a different perspective on it. So you're going to be upset with this person for saying that, because they don't share your perspective on it. Because
well,
you have been
that's
on
why I'm telling them what
I
it's
understand.
like. 97.1 the ticket. Gator. I don't know if I'm going to get to this without making you laugh before I get to what's supposed to be the funny part. Texas A&M baseball. Yesterday was playing a game against Wagner at Bluebell Park. Bluebell Park is the name of Texas A&M's baseball facility. And a writer that covers the Aggies, Carter Carrells, tweeted out the following during the game. The Texas A&M versus Wagner baseball game has been briefly delayed because, well, a Wagner outfielder is locked inside the bathroom at Bluebell Park. No, I am not kidding. So an outfielder from Wagner locked himself in the bathroom at Bluebell Park and couldn't get out. They delayed the game.
Is he having a sit down? Is that what we're thinking?
I'm wondering about that. I mean, if you had, what do you say, GOFD?
Yeah. Good old-fashioned diarrhea.
Do you say, hey, I'm locked in here just so you can finish the job?
I don't think you want anybody to know.
About GOFD?
Yeah, like you're
We've
in there.
all had it.
Yeah, of course.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
No, it's nothing to be ashamed of.
No.
You know, it's your body saying you got to get the poison out. It's okay.
Sometimes that poison's Mexican food.
Sometimes it comes in the various forms of ethnic foods.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just bad cheese. You don't know. You don't know. This is interesting. So they had to delay the game because the guy couldn't get out of the crapper. Is that what we're saying?
That's it.
Did he eventually get out?
I'm going to assume so. I'm going to see if finals came in or the game was suspended. But
can you imagine suspended? We have to make up this game at a later date because,
I mean, if you're going to adhere to all the rules of the game,
because Chase Branahan was locked in the crapper.
Yeah, you didn't want to pinch hit for Branahan. You want to keep Branahan in the lineup,
right?
I don't know, man. It's a tough deal.
That is a tough deal.
I've never been locked in a bathroom.
No. I mean, you latch the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you close the door and you press that button to lock it so people can't get in. I get it, but I don't see how that prevents you from getting out. Do you not understand the concept of unlock?
I don't know. Doors can get stuck.
I was locked in Joe Louis Arena. Remember? Was it the penalty box or was it a bench?
Oh, that's
area?
right. Yeah.
Can't remember which part.
We were down there for a station event.
Yeah, it was like a Christmas party.
And you went and sat in the penalty box and couldn't get the door open?
Yeah, I couldn't get out. Remember?
Couldn't work the latch. Trouble with the latch.
It happens.
So it's why you go over the boards.
It's worse to get stuck in the penalty box when you want to be stuck in the bathroom.
Well,
I can't get out and I need to go. All right, 248-539-9797. Let's get back to your open line calls. We're going to Stan. You're next on 97.1. Hi, Stan.
Good afternoon, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I have an interesting champ and chump. I'll go with the chump first. If you remember correctly, when Al Avila signed Chafin, Rodriguez, and Javi, they all had player options, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only player we have left now, Chafin left after a good year, but Erod left because he was good, and we're with Javi. And so I'm not a fan of the, Cody Bellinger signing possible because he takes away at bats, and it would have been a crummy contract. So I'm against those. Those are my chumps. But my champ is an interesting one. It goes to Gator, and it goes back to coming into this year's football season. Prior to the season, as you know, we have many fans that aren't as half full as I am, and they always like to go to the Lions, talk about them being the same SOL, all that stuff, right? And what Gator said to the guy was, they say, you know what? I'm going to go with this. We have a chance at the division. I don't know if it's going to work out, but I'm going to enjoy it that way because this is the best chance we've had in some years. So I liked, Gator's prescience, but I think the Tigers have that same thing. I think they have a legitimate chance for the division, not guaranteed. And I'm curious what you guys think of their possibilities of winning the division.
Excellent, champ. I I think the Tigers have I think they have a chance, but a lot has to go. It feels like a lot has to go right. I mean, I haven't done a deep dive into seeing how Cleveland's improved their team or Kansas City. I mean, I know Kansas City spent a lot more money here. What Chicago's got going, is Minnesota, if they lost players, what have they added? I haven't really looked into it yet. But based off of last year and what we know about the Tigers, I think this is a team that should be pushing beyond 500. And if you can push beyond 500, this division has not been very good, and you've got a chance. The fact the Tigers owned the division last season, I mean, they were, 17, 18 games above 500 within the own division. That
28 and 15.
Yeah, I mean, you feel like they've got an opportunity there to win the division. I'm not saying they're going to, but yeah, I feel like they have a chance for sure. But again, things have to go right. It'd be nice if you can count on Casey Mize pitching a full season. If you're going to tell me Tarek Skubal's not going to get hurt, that guys like, Green and Torkelson and Carpenter are all going to take steps forward this year and be better, that you're going to get something out of Mark Canha, that, all these things feel like they have to go right to get to the playoffs. And to get to the playoffs, they're going to have to win the division.
Let's not gloss over Gator being all on board the Red Wings are going to make the playoffs, too. There's all kinds of reasons people could champ you. At the beginning of the season, that seemed awfully optimistic. I remember having somebody from the Red Wings organization wandering around in here telling us, well, it's going to be tough because you start looking at how many points we're going to have to get and how much improvement that's going to be. Well, guess what? They are moving in the right direction.
This is true.
248-539-9797. Phone calls, feedback. Carson Anderson, 97.1. More Champ and Chump votes coming in. Champ, Patrick Kane, get this guy extended. Chump, Monty Williams. This guy has been impersonating being a head coach all season. That's from Stephen Frazier. Unnamed texter, Champ, Patrick Kane. Chump, Monty Williams. Run on Monty Williams votes here late. Champ, the Red Wings. Chumps, those spoiled fans who rush the court. Act like you've won before. It's from John in Pennsylvania. I think rushing a court and rushing the field when you're young is awesome. I think it's a lot of fun. When you're that age, who doesn't love doing it? I think everybody does. It's cool to be out on the court or the field or whatever. But it seems as though the enthusiasm has gone too far as we see more incidents of players getting hurt. Now, maybe it happened before. Not every game was televised, and we just never noticed it. A big Drake Indiana State game from 1974.
Well, we'd all like to say that if people behave well, it's great, right? Run onto the court, be mindful of the opposition, let them exit the court or the field of play without any interaction with the fan base, right? You don't need to get in somebody else's face, but this is what they want to do now. And this is some of the other things that are being alleged there. It's not only was he run into and injured his ankle or knee or whatever it was, but it's also being alleged that he was punched and attacked and that it was premeditated. Now, do the investigation, find out if that actually happened or not. But I don't know why people just can't be happy with what's going on. You want to storm the field because your team won the big game and you want to celebrate with your team? Go ahead and do that. What I don't understand is why you'd want to go out there specifically to target a player on the other team and get in their face and goad them into doing something stupid.
Yeah, I'm not sure that this was a case of targeting, but there was one fan that was running behind Filipowski. It looked like he gave him a little shove.
Yeah, this may not be, but I'm talking about just like storming the field, I guess, is maybe more so than this. You've got probably a better opportunity to get off the football field than you would a basketball court.
Yeah. Targeting a football player is stupid. That are all jacked up and
it's also stupid
wearing a uniform and a helmet and pads.
But we did see it a number of times last football season where fans stormed the field, and there were, Alabama had some issues with
Tennessee.
it.
Was that 2 years ago?
I mean, I stormed the field once in my life, and it was a Michigan State game at Spartan Stadium in 1993, I think. Was where Michigan State held Tyrone Wheatley like 20 yards rushing.
17-7, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. And it was one of those things like, everybody's jumping on the field. You want to go on the field? Like, yeah, okay. And like we kind of hopped over, and this is before they changed the that end zone.
Before it was a bit of a rappel.
Yeah, now it's like,
there.
now you do need a rappel, but back then you did not. And we kind of like ran onto the field, stood in the end zone, and that was about it. I'm like, what are we doing? I don't know. Want to go? Yeah, let's go. I've never really understood the need to run out onto the field. I mean, if you want to celebrate, you can celebrate with everybody in the stands.
You can, but as a kid, you think it's fun. You think it's cool to be out there where the game just took place. To jump up and down in a giant mosh pit with your players. 248-539-9797. Hey, get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/Doug and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in Michigan. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problems? Call 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help. Doug Carr, Scott Anderson, 97 on the ticket. Open lines, 248-539-9797. Let's get back to your phone calls. Tom is on 97 on the ticket. What's up, Tom?
Afternoon, gentlemen. I just wanted to call in with a quick champ and chump.
Great.
I need to champ the Red Wings for this nice run that they're on. Pretty exciting
Sure
to
is.
have quality hockey being played again in town. And at the same time, I have to chump just the entire state of Michigan basketball right now. I don't think it's ever been worse statewide, with Michigan in dead last in the Big Ten for the first time since 1966. You even got Michigan State, who was preseason number 4, and they're in the middle of the Big Ten, only one game above 500, for God's sakes. You got UAD Mercy with only one win on the season. You got the Pistons, the worst team in the NBA. The only bright spot is the Golden Grizzlies, who are in first place in the Horizon. But overall, statewide basketball is just atrocious.
I hadn't even really put together the totality of it. You're right.
Well, right now it looks atrocious. But college basketball is judged on a tournament, not the regular season. So there's still time for some teams to turn around, but it doesn't look good. I did not like. I mean, look, Michigan State hoops is my chump of the week for dropping 2 in a row at home. When they really, it's not that they can't afford to, but if you want to move up in the seeding, you can't afford to. Like what was looking like a 7 seed now looks closer to a 9 seed. And had they won those 2 games, would you be looking more at a 6 seed or a 5 seed? You know, getting ready for your final 3 games before the Big Ten tournament.
So they don't appear to be in jeopardy of not making the tournament.
They have 2 very winnable games in their last 3.
They play at Purdue, is that right?
Yeah.
So that's not the winnable game. I mean, it is winnable, but that's not what I would call very winnable.
Nope.
Then they have, don't they have a reeling Indiana team? Indiana is right there with Michigan in terms of disappointment. And so they should, although that's on the road, isn't it?
They play at home. They go at Purdue, home against Northwestern, and at Indiana.
Okay, this is arguably the best Northwestern team I've ever seen.
Yeah, they played well.
And at Indiana is very winnable. I guess I wouldn't mess around and lose all 3.
Yeah, try not to do that.
Yeah, then you might be talking about a bubble team. They have an incredibly strong tournament resume because of their strength of schedule. Their NAT ranking.
But if they went 19-12 in the regular season heading into the Big Ten tournament, I guess what they're trying to do is avoid playing the first night of the tournament or the second night of the tournament. You want to play on Friday, not on Thursday, if you can get a bye.
Right.
So can they get to the point where they get a bye?
You're not on the bubble when you're on the 7 line, and that's where Lenardi has them. Is that updated today? No, I'm sorry. This is a few days old. So I guess it's irrelevant to say they're.
They've got a great net rating, but whatever. I mean, none of this. Just take care of business. Win 2 of the final 3 games. Win your opening game of the Big Ten tournament. If you get 20 wins, you're looking at seeding. You're not looking at bubble.
Feedback. Champ Liverpool for winning the Carabao Cup. What is the Carabao Cup? I don't even know if that's how it's pronounced.
Caribou?
Carabao.
Carabao? I don't know.
Apparently Liverpool won something called the Carabao Cup for the first title of the year.
Way to go, Liverpool.
Yep. Whoever would have thought. Actually, I have no idea. Chump the Pistons. They continue to
think about
disappoint.
that?
Andrew and LeVon.
Do you want to spend time in a pool of liver? Does that sound disgusting?
No, it does sound nasty. I have thought about, so I'm going to assume, I'm pretty sure this is soccer. You know what I really think is kind of underrated? For me, whenever I stumble across something, I'm like, oh, and that is midday, weekday sports. Okay, so you get into like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and there's a Tiger game going on.
Right.
I'm always like, oh, cool. In the middle of the week, during the day. When you get to, I'm going to use the term smaller conference tournaments, which will start soon. Gator also prefers the term
crap conference.
Yes. But even when we get to the Big Ten tournament and there's a noon start, I really like the midday, midweek start time because it's always just kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
Bowl season, it's a Wednesday, and it's the Boca Raton Bowl. I find a lot of soccer is on at that time. And I was thinking, should I get into soccer so I can experience this little joy in life a little bit more? And
because of the time difference?
Yeah, I haven't pulled the trigger on that yet.
No?
Nope. And I'm not sure I will.
Yeah.
And if I did, I'd have to pick a side. I'd have to pick a side, and
Yeah.
I don't know what side I'd want to pick.
Good luck with that.
Anyway,
I'm
Champ,
not going down that road.
Okay. Champ Patrick Kane, I want Steve to sign him long-term for as long as DeBrincat. Chump myself for not wanting Kane on the wings when the signing was coming to fruition. That's from Bob in Waterford. I had some real reservations about signing Patrick Kane, and they were mostly injury and age-related, and it's all fine until it isn't. It's all fine right now. He is performing, man.
Yeah, he looks like getting back to his old self, point-a-game guy, and the reason there were legitimate reasons to be concerned because players had not come back from that procedure and been anywhere near effective. So he's treading into totally different territory. He looks great. Looked great last night, getting that game winner in overtime.
Yeah.
Rico Beard has made his way into studio. You doing good?
I am, man. It's funny because it's what we always say, like, okay, the guy is injured. Just take a chance. If it doesn't work out, fine. But if it does, you look like geniuses because you supported him early and you got in. It's like a stock. You bought it when it was a penny stock. And now, he gets the game winner in Chicago. Still, to me, I had to go back and look at the Brinkett goal. Was like, how did –
I still don't know. I mean, you
I know.
Like Mickey Redmond saying, just shoot as hard as you can at the net and see what happens when you're at that angle.
Well, who shot it? What?
How did that sneak in? It is none of the replays. And the one replay that looked like it was going to show, because he was behind the end line for people who saw it, and he just threw it at the net.
Yeah, there was no angle.
And I'm going to assume it just hit Mrazek, the Chicago
The back
goalie
of the
skate,
pad,
and went in. But the one angle that might have showed it, right as they were replaying it, the ref skates right in front of the camera. You can't see that. And by the way, we didn't even mention the first goal. Sprong getting laid out and firing, an absolute seed. That was how he found any opening there was pretty impressive.
All the goals are kind of hard fought last night. All 5 of them,
Yeah.
Kind of
both teams.
But yeah, when Kane got the breakaway, it was like, okay, this is it.
This is why you get a guy.
Don't blow this.
And he didn't.
When DeBrincat goes like to cut off the Blackhawks player right next to the net, you know now DeBrincat's going to have control of the puck. First thought in my head are they catching on somebody on a line change? And then he just sends it up, and he did.
Yep.
Is it Kane? Is it Patrick
is.
Kane? You're like, oh my God, I can't believe it is.
And the fact that he had a breakaway from center ice in, and the play-by-play call, Ken Cal had time to say, "Oh, the drama!" Like in hockey, everything happens so fast. But
A couple of great calls on that one. Cal's call is amazing. Ken Daniels' call is great.
Like, where's he going to go with this? Where's he going to go? Okay.
And he slowed down to look behind him.
Yeah,
Is anybody
like
coming? I got time.
Did you see at the end? Trevor Thompson's interviewing him on the bench, and they were talking about it. He's like, "Well, I thought about what if I got into a situation like this." 'Cause he's always thinking of shootout stuff because he's amazing in a shootout. He's like, "Yeah, I thought if I took it slow, if he comes out at me, then I wanted to try something like that." So yeah, I had this plan beforehand.
It's pretty sweet.
Of course you did.
Oh, what else you guys got planned coming up next?
Well, yeah, Mike has 5 bold takes when it comes to this wings that he wants to talk about. Also, we're going to probably start the show off with the debacle that happened in East Lansing last night.
Did I hear you? Were you there?
I was there.
Okay, I thought I heard you ask a question. The post.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was me. So
way to represent.
Why Xavier Booker isn't playing?
That question got asked before I did. So basically mine was, Tom, you're about to play Purdue, so you're about to hit a 3-game losing streak. How do you stop this bleeding?
Have a great show. Stay safe, everyone, and treat each other with respect. 97.1.
Welcome in on a Monday. If you think you're going to hear me yelling and screaming, it's not going to happen. But let me tell you, we have way too much content for 4 hours. We're going to talk about the Wings. We're going to talk about the Tigers. We're going to hit the Lions. We're going to hit court storming. But we have to begin with I am terming revelations. This is a very exciting thing. And I don't want to upsell it, but we're going to open and close to start the show with the latest embarrassment that is Michigan State basketball. Now, it's not even going to be me talking. I've said it all. I have nothing left. I, in fact, have 0 Fs if they make the tournament or not. But in the movie preview voice, you're not going to believe what Rico Beard says about Izzo next. In a world where a coach plays 3 players who don't have functioning limbs. So listen, I'm just going to step back. Sorry. I'm going to step back because Rico made a really interesting observation. He was at the game, went to the press conference. You know Rico, when he gets up there, is a big swinging, you-know-what, glad-handing, shaking hands, kissing babies, the whole bit. But I want you to listen, especially to those of you that are up at MSU, because I know you're listening. What I don't want to see happen here, don't twist this man's words. You're listening to this right now. I know you can hear me. So when Rico speaks, don't bother him on senior day and accuse him of saying things he didn't say. That's just a waste of everybody's time. No. So without further ado, I'm turning my microphone off.
Because at this point, it's one of those, don't tell me what you didn't like. Tell me what I said that was wrong. Because I don't think I'm about to say anything that's wrong.
Without further ado, I give you Rico Beard. Oh, no.
Mike, Michigan State loses. Buzzer beater. Ohio State 60-57. Second loss in a row. You lost to 2 teams that you were favored to beat by 10 points. 2 teams that are probably headed to the NIT. You lost to them at home. But last night in the press conference, and I've covered Tom Izzo press conferences going back to 98. So it's about, 26, 27 years or so. I saw something for the first time. It was like, Mike, it's like when you realize your dad is old, when it's not the same person you grew up with. Tom he's lost the fire. He's lost the passion. He loves basketball. Tom loves basketball. It's in his blood. You cut him, it's going to bleed orange. I don't think he likes his team. I don't think he likes coaching right now. I think the changes in basketball have limited this man, and he is no longer having fun. He's out there doing this job, but it's like being in a loveless marriage. You know that it once was great and no longer. It's the example of when think of you've been with a woman and you two would hang out and party and drink all night long and hang out on the weekends. And then one day she walks in and says, I'm not going to drink again. I'm joining a church. You still love the woman, but now everything has changed. And with the rules and everything, because Tom constantly tells you what you can't. I can't do this. I can't say this. I wish I could do this. And he's hamstrung. And I don't know if he's doing it by himself or not, but the passion is gone. Tom is just not having fun. And you're starting to see now where he's out there just at this point, Mike, and you know this because you've covered the team. Tom used to fuel on the fact of people doubting him. That's how he became Mr. March. Just when you thought it was over, just when you thought maybe the game passed him by, wait till you see what this rabbit I'm about to pull out of my hat. Rabbit's dead. Hat's gone. There's nothing there. This is the first time in his career, double-digit losses. They're already at 11 losses. They're going to at least hit 14 at the most because you can count Purdue as 12, Big Ten tournament, and the regular season tournament. So you're looking at 14 losses, 4 years in a row. The last time something like that happened was 2002, 3, and 4. He lost double-digit losses, but then they bounced back and went to the Final Four. That's not this team. Tom's gambling.
he's just out there putting out lineups, and you see it that they don't make sense. And it's just when you thought, okay, maybe he's got it. Maybe he's figured this out. He inserts Xavier Booker into the game. Booker goes out there. Booker's getting it done. And then he sits Booker down for the final 15 minutes of the game. The team scores 17 points. No real answer why, except for, well, Book does some things that you guys don't see. Well, what does Matty do? Because I saw nothing from Matty. I saw nothing of why Matty was in this game. I say all this to say, I don't see the same confidence that I once saw with Tom Izzo. I don't see the same fire. I don't see the same desire. I see a man who appears to just be broken. Like, he does not like his team. And it's not to say he doesn't love the game of college basketball, but this is no longer fun for him. This is work. This is a job. He's going to live up to his contract. But I got a feeling this man's going to go the way of Nick Saban, where he's just going to walk in one day and just say, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I'm walking away. You saw it with Nick Saban in that game against Michigan. Jalen Milroe did a bunch of stuff, and Saban would just kind of play the role of the grandfather, like, wait, you're not going to yell at him for that? Nah, because he had already checked out. And it looks like to me the time is checking out right in front of our eyes. Yeah, we would all like to say you go out with a bang, but Coach K didn't go out with a bang. Nick Saban didn't go out with a bang. You don't go out the way you want to go out. You don't. We all would like to die with family surrounding us. That's not how most of us is going to go out. Some are going to die in car crashes or whatever. It's going to happen. I don't think this is going to end the way he wants it to end. I don't think it's going to end the way Spartan fans want it to end. Because you're looking at a season now. You lose to you're going to lose to Purdue. Let's just get that out the way. You lose to Northwestern, and that streak that you hold, it's gone. You're not going to make the tournament. Mike, I owe you an apology.
Why?
Because you told me, they could not make the tournament. And I said, Mike, it's mathematically impossible.
You don't owe an apology.
Okay, it's mathematically impossible that could happen. But I just see this. I mean, the biggest blunder to me was last night when it was late in the game. It was 3.4 seconds, I think, on the shot clock. Inbounds the ball underneath the basket. Why is Matty Sissoko in the game? Matty's not your offensive player. The ball goes into Matty. Matty couldn't get rid of that ball fast enough. He gets the ball about 8 feet from the basket. And instead of trying to make a move to go towards the basket, either get fouled, get an and one, or shoot two free throws, he quickly is playing hot potato with Tyson Walker. Tyson Walker has taken off-balance shot, misses it, wasted possession. Why is Booker still on the bench? Why is Booker not in this game?
Let me offer something. I can't prove this. And by the way, listen, I stayed silent because I heard this take last night, and I said, Rico, that's the open. Just deliver them, put the mail in the mailbox. Rico's covered the team for damn near a quarter of a century. He's up there for every home game. Now, I've told you from afar, it's simple. I'd rather he walk away than for me to ever have to do the show where we're talking about the F word with a legend. You just don't want to have to do it, but I'll do it. I did it with D'Antoni. I'll do it with him if I have to. The point is, I almost feel there's a spite. The way that he's handled this Booker thing, it had hit a flashpoint after the Iowa loss where everybody, even people who don't pay attention to college basketball, are wearing "Where is Xavier Booker" t-shirts, right? And here's what's not fair. The kid's not a messiah.
No.
And no one's saying he should have been playing 20 minutes from the start of the season. But, Rico, he started Xavier Booker in this game.
No. And when he started him, crowd went nuts.
And I think that makes him angry.
And then he hits a three, and the crowd is losing it. He gets an and one dunk. And not only is the crowd losing it, his teammates are jumping up and down.
That makes him angry. I think he resents it. He wants to do it his way. Look, you want proof, people, about Izzo being stubborn to the core and wanting it his way? Look at a lineup of Sissoko, Cooper, and Cohen Carr. 3 players wholly incapable of putting ball in basket.
Yeah.
At no point does he put in the guy who stretches and spaces the floor. Look, here's the thing. If you want to blame Jaden Akins or Walker or Hoger, you can. Understand when you do not have bigs. When teams don't have to guard your big people, the amount of pressure that's on your guards and the types of shots they got to take, man, that's why Tyson Walker ain't hitting shots. Teams are hip to this.
Mike, yeah, right. When Booker was in the game, it freed up the lane because you had to guard him because he could hit the three-pointer. That's when Malik was allowed to do his post moves. That's when all of a sudden AJ is able to go to the basket and make layups, and life was easy. Trust me, I'm going to do a deeper dive on this and not get too geeky on the pod. But right here, right now, when I'm looking at that, you're right. And it was like, okay, no, I benched Matty, but Matty's still a valuable part of this team, so I'm going to play him at the end. And it's like, why? And then I felt better because I came home late last night and I'm watching the BTN and Beyond, and Mike DeCourcy is talking. This is a guy who has no skin in the game. And he said the same thing, like, this team was playing so well when Xavier Booker was in there. They scored 40 points. The offense was flowing, and then they took him out. And I don't understand why. And I'm at the TV saying, neither do I, Mike.
Because Tom, he has this old school, I value defense above all thing. The reality is, now this is where I'll get myself in trouble with State fans, but I lost the ability to care years ago. They can get mad. They can support. It makes no difference. Cassius Winston and Xavier Tillman covered up for a lot of warts. So what I'm about to say, I want you to understand that while I loved Cassius and I loved the late shot clock heroics, here's the reality. It's going to be almost a decade since Tom had an offense anyone cared about. All right? So this whole conversation, remember, this is about a coach who won't evolve. This is about a coach who looked at this roster and went, I'm going to win a natty with this. Mm-hmm. He didn't go to the portal. He got stubborn. Look, the whole bit is this. The headline, Rico at the presser, and it's your belief. I'll take your word for it. I didn't look in the man's eyes. I just look at the product. He's going the way of Saban. Now, his stubbornness might keep him around. He's almost a masochist on some level, is that the punishment, he'll want to take more of it.
But he's not having fun. And I don't think he likes this team that he has.
I don't think any of these big-time coaches are in college football or look at Dabo Swinney. You think Dabo Swinney's having a good time?
No.
Because, look, part of the problem, though, Rico, here's the difference. Tom, look, you got to call it what it is, man. It's what is this now? It's going to be 14 this year, 13 each of the previous years. You know.
Yeah, 13. Yeah, 13, and it's going to at least be 14. Because I don't think you're going to – because for those saying, oh, well, you know – remember, everybody thought that the Cassius Winston team, that 2000 team, was going to win the national title. You know what happened when they went to Purdue that year? They lost 71-42. You're going to Mackey. Last time Michigan State won at Mackey, your starting backcourt, well, one's in jail for killing somebody. Keith Appling.
Oh, dear.
Gary Harris.
Oh, my.
That was the starting backcourt in 2014, the last time they won at Mackey.
So, yeah, and it's probably the last damn time I cared about the offense.
No, it was a year after.
Oh, 15 with Denzel.
Yeah,
yes.
They lost, but they lost in overtime, but it was still competitive.
Yeah.
Other than that, you go to Mackey, it's not competitive, so that's a loss.
So here's the question. And again, we're going to get to the Wings a little later in the hour. I got thoughts on the Tigers. We've got some Lions. Brad Holmes was on the morning show with Cookies and Jansen. We got a lot to do today. But yesterday was pretty much, if it wasn't one of the worst losses, I'll just coin it, it's one of the worst losses of Izzo's career, and arguably one of the worst weeks of Izzo's career, meaning Iowa and then that.
And, 2 teams headed to the NIT. You lost at home.
And it's a coach who, like Rico said, I mean, I'm not making fun of it. It's just reality. He's become very old in front of your eyes. His ideas are old, his stubbornness, his refusal to create a infusion of outside voices on the coaching staff, not just buddies.
And see, I thought when he started Booker, I'm like, you know what? He's changed.
And then he had
He heard
7
our
points,
show.
3 boards, 3 blocks. Now, yes, did he fail on a box out? Yes.
Yeah. Did he get a dunk block? Yes.
But like, it's the oldest phrase in the book, man. You grow through what you go through. Booker's not going to get better sitting on that bench. And this team, I've already seen what Matty's got to offer. I've seen what Cooper's got to offer. And Lord, no slander, I've already seen what Jackson Kohler's had to offer.
The team, you saw when he was in that lineup, that team wanted to play. They were excited. Every point, everything he did, they were like, yes, about time. And then it was a 180, and we went back to here's Matty.
And when I say he's done, I just mean it's the same thing as Saban. I'm just, look, man, I'm in 248-539-9797.
And I was going to say, and the reason why I say that is it's Tom's word. Every press conference that I've been at some point he'll say, I can't really go at them the way that I want to, talking about his team. I can't yell at them. I can't really do this in practice anymore.
And go enjoy the beach.
And it tells me you're not being yourself. and you're selling yourself short. And if you're selling yourself short, you're selling the program short. Either be yourself and go out with a bang, or like you said, go enjoy yourself.
Go to the beach. We'll build the statue and name the court the minute you say you're out. That's not me wanting him gone or having some vendetta. Of course I don't. But what I don't like is sad old coach-player thing. I don't like it.
Either go out being you.
And don't go out being balding Jerry Rice. Don't do that. 248-539-9797, Rico Beard.
Planet Fitness is the home of the judgment-free zone. That means anybody, including you, can go and feel comfortable and work on your fitness goals. Planet Fitness, look, you can go to any of the local Planet Fitnesses around, and it's very simple. For 29 cents down and $10 a month, you can start your process. And that goes on through the end of the month. So you got until the end of February to head over to Planet Fitness. Just 29 cents down, $10 a month. You can work out, cardio equipment, strength training equipment, whatever it is. And a lot of Planet Fitnesses have extended hours now. And if you're short on time, don't worry about it. You can get a full body workout in just 30 minutes on the Planet Fitness 30-minute circuit. So what are you waiting for? Head into your local Planet Fitness right now. 29 cents down, $10 a month, no commitment. That's it, 29 cents down. But you got to hurry. This offer ends soon.
Hey, what's better than one Circa ad than another? Hi, it's America's favorite place to watch football. Stadium Swim. Yeah, I swore you just heard about this. Circa Resort and Casino. Catch all the biggest games at one of the best sporting venues in America. 6 pools, 3 levels. It's a real good time. It'll almost make MSU hoops tolerable. Stadium Swim. Book your spot today at circalasvegas.com. All right, I understand this is not a high call or volume topic, but what Rico's saying, it has merit. So for everybody up at MSU who's going to get all upset, go cry elsewhere. The bottom line is, it is Rico's interpretation as a man who goes to every damn game and has covered the team for 20 years. Yeah, Izzo, whether you want to say not having fun, doesn't want to coach college hoops anymore, might be at the end. None of that is firing. None of that is animus. It's reality. He's 70 years old. This team blows. The product has been bad for years.
The last time I saw this type when new rules happened was the one and done. And it was the year that he had Zach Randolph, and he would bring Zach off the bench because he really thought Zach was going to come back for another year. And it was like,
Zach hasn't gone to class since December. I don't think.
Like Zach has no idea
what about
Wells
the famous
Hall.
convo between Zach and Deshaun Stevenson in the Breslin corridor? Oh, I got the stories. The point I make is,
right, it was like, and he was like, yeah, I guess in hindsight, I should have seen that coming.
Oh, you mean when you played him like 20 minutes and he took Udonis Haslem to school?
Yeah.
The point is, I view what yesterday was, it's spite store. I could actually see a world where he wanted to put Booker out there, have Booker fail so he could say, see, defense wins championship. Tom, Kentucky put up 117 points the other day. The game's changed a little. And I ain't telling you I want to see Kentucky here. But Kentucky knows who they are. 5 guys that shoot 40% from deep. We have to take and make more threes than anybody else. And our defense is largely trash. The point is, at least they know who they are. I don't know what this team is. Because when Booker goes out and goes 7 points, 3 boards, 3 blocks, and you go, not perfect, energy, something, spacing.
I can build upon
for him not to play the last 15 minutes?
Right.
It was the same thing the other night when he started Matty Sissoko for 2 minutes in the first half and started him for 3 minutes in the second. Why the hell would you start him at all? What is he, reverse Darko? It doesn't make any sense. He's operating a spite store. He wants to prove that he's right. Versus if Booker plays, true or false, if the lineup I'm putting on the floor, if you took MSU's best defensive center, it would actually be Carson Cooper.
Right.
Nerd analytics, I know. Cooper, Booker, Hall, or Akins, and then your 2 guards, and whoever's not playing becomes your super 6th man. But he won't do it.
Okay, and here's the other thing. When you put Matty out there, Mike, I'm watching 34 for Ohio State. You know where he camped? Right under the basket.
Don't have to guard him.
Matty's at the top of the lane. The crowd is even yelling, shoot, because he is wide open. You put Booker out there, Booker will shoot the 3-pointer and probably will make it.
Like my dream, and again, I know it'll never happen, so just please spare me the angry text, but like a school like Indiana State runs this 5 out. I mean, everyone's on the perimeter, and you are going to pierce and duck and dive into the paint and create. My point is, my dream lineup with how bad this team is. And I know, you won't. You'll be bad defensively or you'll get bullied on the glass. We don't rebound anyways. I'd just play Booker as a stretch 5. I'd play Booker as a stretch 5 and park him outside. I'd have Malik Hall at the 4, Akins, and both guards. There's my lineup. Is it flawed? Hell yes, it is.
Wait, you mean the starting lineup yesterday? Because that was your starting lineup yesterday.
I know.
That was it right there.
But he can't help himself. The minute guys get hot, here comes, it's like Kenny's Wings. It's a line change. One problem, basketball is not hockey.
Yeah,
David, the ticket text. The meatloaf.
I'm sick of Izzo defenders saying 25-year track record of coaching. Okay, but get this man into a retirement home now. That is from Jimmy. Tony from